Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Questing for Glory, Hope and Healing. That was an awesome Disgaea 4 showcase, so thank you very much for that. I am Creative Ellie, and I'll be the host for the next run, the Alliance Alive HD, run by FellVisage. Guys, buckle up and get ready because this is a pretty fast-paced speed run. Now, remember, we are raising money for NAMI, so there are some cool incentives that Visage has provided for a speed run. That includes naming some characters, and we have a Matilda incentive goal. While the name incentives are going to be cut off as soon as Visage starts his runs, we do have that $200 incentive goal. He's going to go and recruit Matilda, where he's going to go out of his way to recruit this member. I'm sure he'll talk about more of that incentive during his run. But if we want to reach that goal, we're going to have to raise $180. But let's get this show started. Without further ado, let's give the floor to FellVisage here and wish him good wishes for his run. Whenever you are ready, bud.
Alright, so hi, I'm Fel. And do you want me to give you a countdown for when to start, or?
Yeah, go for it.
Alrighty. So, that's 3, 2, 1, and go.
Good luck.
Right, so this is Alliance Alive. A game that's a spiritual successor to a rather niche game called The Legend of Legacy for the DS. And it follows many of the same systems. Unlike most RPGs, you don't level up in the normal way. That's the wrong menu. Instead... Oh, that's the wrong one. You can only grow your character, or characters, via HP and SP growth, and by learning new skills. And typically the skills progress in a somewhat linear fashion. So you'll have weaker skills and stronger skills. You get quite a few party members in this game, although we'll only be using a few of them. And I picked up an order gem there. It's just a side mechanic of this game. Basically, this game has limited retries on boss fights, and like, if you get into a thing called a chain battle, you can flee. But it costs you a bunch of your order gems. Now, as you can see, in combat, there's a nice function, which is the ×4 speed up. So it just makes things go nice and smooth. Unfortunately, you won't get to see like all of the cool animations and stuff, except a couple that are quite easy to see even through the ×4 transition, or battle speed. But for the very beginning of this game, there's gonna be a lot of like trying to avoid enemies at all costs. I learned a talent on both of my characters here. Both of these characters aren't going to get used much because they are the weakest ones by far. Despite being the, like, pseudo-protagonist. Despite all of the characters somewhat being quite protagonisty in this game. And so I learned a field talent, Scouting, which basically it makes enemies view distance smaller, and if you equip enough, or if you learn enough of those, enemies just stop seeing you entirely, which can be a bad thing, but not for this speedrun. To give a quick rundown of the plot, it's pretty much just a standard rebellion fare. Humans are basically slaves to the beast folk and demons, and the beast folk are just subordinate to the demons. And that really is the extent of the story. It's not very deep. Most of the story is on like character development style of things. Yeah, as people have noticed, the chibi art style here is often likened to Bravely Default. The game itself, however, is like all of the gameplay is completely different. Bravely Default has far more like normal systems, whereas this is as people have said, more similar to Saga, and it's just pretty much a straight spiritual successor. to Legend of Legacy. So there's just a few puzzles in this place, which we'll see shortly. Because this is the ancient museum. And there's some tight corridors in this place, which can make dodging some of the enemies rather difficult. Worst case scenario, if you get into a fight, you can just flee. The only problem is fleeing in this game reduces your max HP temporarily of the character that you choose to flee with. This early on, that's not an issue, because I'm gonna get my max HP restored before the next big fight, or the next important fight anyway. But later on, Galil does need to have some amount of HP to survive the first boss. And as I said, these two characters are insanely weak compared to literally everyone else. So this chapter is like one of the hardest ones until the very final bosses. So the puzzle here is as simple as this thing's opening times being 9:30 till 5. A very standard working day here at the museum. So now that it's 9:30, the doors are open at the end of these corridors. This was originally a 3DS game, and then it got remastered onto consoles and PC. So I'm gonna go out of the way to grab this order gem over here. I wouldn't usually do this, but for marathon safety, I'll be grabbing as many of these as I can. And I will be saving a lot too. As I say, they let you retry a fight at a cost of 1 gem each retry. So they just cut down on resetting the game if I die, which I most likely will be dying later on. Especially if the Matilda incentive does not get met. But now that it's open, now that the doors are open from this puzzle, these don't need to stay on. And we need them off for the next step of the puzzle later, so I turn them off on the way to the next room. Because we have to visit the northwest and southeast corners of this one to grab some items we need to continue the plot. So I'll go over more of the battle mechanics once the real game starts, so to speak, because these first few this first set of chapters is pretty much purely an introduction, and there will be very low amounts of combat, and I will be cheesing as much of that combat as possible because again, these characters are just incredibly weak. If I bring this up here, we can see that my HPs are 58 and 40. These two characters start with 50 HP and 40 HP, which is really the only metric other than equipment for how survivable you are. And you'll see once I get into the next set of chapters just how weak these two are and why they are almost useless for the entire game. Though they do grow very quickly if you play a casual playthrough and do any amount of random encounters and stuff. So yeah, this is why we needed the mirrored cross from the northwest room. So here's Grossa, the first quote-unquote boss of the run. And we blocked, which is bad. We learned block. So you can't beat Grossa here. Well, you can in New Game Plus, and it gives you an alternate ending. But that won't be happening. And here we learn about a mechanic called Final Strikes, which will be very important for multiple fights. Which, once you get into this ignition state, which is done by dealing damage, taking damage, and watching your allies fall in combat, you can unleash a Final Strike, which destroys your weapon, although temporarily. You can repair them later on. To unleash an incredibly powerful attack. Compared to our other attacks, at least. They're very, very, very important for pretty much every hard fight in the game. There is like a second and third level of ignition, which makes your SP costs rise and makes your damage shoot through the roof. But we won't be getting that, along with a huge amount of mechanics that we won't be seeing at all in this run, simply because they're out of the way. And this run is almost entirely about doing as little as possible, while still being able to not lose 100% of the time to the final boss. So, Azura got blinded and something from a curse that Grossa did to us. A nice touch on the character models here is that until now, Galil had the red band that's over Azura's eyes now. It was always on his arm before. But that's off of his model now and on hers. And here's Renzo and Barbarossa. We met Renzo earlier for some intelligence, but Barbarossa is joining us now, so I'll be doing the names for those two shortly. Once I'm out of these cutscenes, along with some other menuing. So if I could get the names for Renzo and Barbarossa, that'd be great.
Sure thing. Let me refresh here. Which one would you like first?
Renzo, thank you.
All right, Renzo, it's going to be Orangeo. I'll spell it for you. Let me know when you're ready for the spelling.
Yep, go ahead.
Orangeo.
Yep, is that it?
That's it?
Orangeo.
Yeah.
Right. And Barbarossa?
Barbarossa is going to be capital B and then an exclamation point.
B. And that's all, yeah?
That's all. You got it.
Alrighty then. Cool. Now I have to do my actual menu, which is, I need to take this shield off of you and put it on you, and equip medicines on these characters, and then I need talents on Renzo. I need scouting and sword 2. So Renzo and Barbarossa we'll actually be using long term. Renzo, just because there's no better options really, and Barbarossa because he actually has a pretty sizable amount of HP. And yeah, as I say, you can see by these two characters' HP levels that our characters are very weak. Very, very weak. But that's fine, because we'll get carried for a little bit here, if we do get any random encounters. So I'm going to be quick saving a lot in this run. Being a PC game, it is somewhat susceptible to crashes. They are very rare, and they usually happen on screen transitions, and they are more common on certain screen transitions than others. So I'll be doing my best to mitigate that. And most of my runs, I've crashed in runs like once or twice, so it's really just not much of an issue. Yeah, dodging enemies is quite simple in this game for the most part. They have very simple AIs. There's like ones that follow you very closely, but are slower than you. And then the ones that are faster than you are pretty much always... They'll run in a straight line for a little bit. And then they'll stop, and then they'll run in a straight line for a little bit. There's a couple more complex ones later, but they're all pretty easy to dodge as long as you're not in tight corridors. Which there will be plenty tight corridors. This dungeon has them as well, like, I can get through there. And there's a staircase coming up just up here that I think this guy's in the way of. Oh no, we got through. That often gets blocked by the monster spawn there. But dodging enemies becomes less and less of an issue as we go, for the most part. Until a certain dungeon that's awful. But for the most part, there's no avoiding fights in that place, so you just rock it. So there's just a little bit of downtime here whilst we head back to the town, so if there's been any donations or any extra shoutouts you want to do.
Yeah, sure thing. Let me refresh here. I do want to give a shout out to what we're doing for the marathon. We are raising money from NAMI. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They focus around these three pillars: education, support, awareness, advocacy. We are raising money for NAMI, and it's amazing that we surpassed 12,000, and we are pretty close to that 13,000 mark. And if you want to see an opportunity for Matilda to appear in this speedrun, there's an incentive for that.
That's that was a troll. I could not get through there at all. And so this is a battle chain. I have no choice but to fight it. At this point, you can't flee battle chains the normal way. Luckily, Renzo and Barbarossa are incredibly powerful. I did at least get HP growth on both. Wow, this is the worst forest I've had in a long time. Every enemy is just in the worst possible place. And yeah, it's not the worst thing to get random encounters here, because any extra HP you can get stops the chance, or like lowers the chance you get high rolled by the first real boss significantly. So yeah, like that place is actually one of the worst for getting random encounters in the entire game, because everything is just a tight corridor, and because of all the trees and like the canopies and stuff, it's really difficult to see where enemies actually are. But yeah, so Renzo and Barbarossa. Barbarossa, most people use axes on him all game. We'll be doing something a little bit different. In fact, we won't be using axes on him at all, a single time, all game. Because in this early game, this like very, very early game part, his unarmed skills are actually insanely powerful for whatever reason. I think he just comes with very high levels on them. And there's an enemy in front of the chest that I wanted, so I'm just gonna skip it. And Renzo is just gonna be using sword skills, because he's gonna be our primary sword user for the first, like, few regions. And I say primary sword user, and you'll see what I mean by that in pretty much the entire run. Because you'll be seeing plenty of that specific weapon type. And in these fights with Galil, or in this fight with Galil, I'm just going to be using Defend. And he doesn't need to be defending, but he's going to be useless doing anything else. So that's why I'm using Defend with him. And we just want him to not die as well, ideally, because as discussed, dying makes you lose some of your HP, or your max HP temporarily. Unarmed is actually very strong in this game, but not unless you grind it a lot. And obviously Barbarossa's in the early game. There is a character who gets unique unarmed skills later on, which we will be using, and we'll see plenty of those. So unfortunately, Renzo and Barbarossa are going to be leaving us here. But before then, we will be unlocking something that is really cool and really frustrating at the same time. And we'll see why, as when I get to the cutscene that unlocks it. But first, we got some more running through fields to be doing, as you do in RPGs.
Do we have time for a couple donations?
Not really, because I'm about to explain
Gotcha.
the movement technique that we'll get on the world map shortly.
Sounds
It's
good.
just like not even a half-minute walk to that. So. But it's a pretty cool movement idea. It's just in practice, it's a little bit annoying, somewhat. These things that we can see here, they are called ornithopters. And there's two ways to use the ornithopter in the early parts, really. And one of them is the mash like crazy and pray method, which I do not use because it's really, really unreliable. And the other is to just try and time your presses. So, you have to press A to flap each time, and any delay between one flap and the next causes you to lose quite a bit of height. But it is significantly faster than walking on the ground, on flat ground, and even slightly sloped ground. But if you press to flap a little bit too early, chances are, when you're timing it, you're not going to get the next one off at all. Which means you'll just fall to the ground and lose quite a bit of time, unfortunately. There's also a second part of it, which is enemies can't catch you during it, and this is basically the same thing as well. Cutscenes that happen on the world map whilst you're on the ornithopter, they just don't happen. So there's normally some short cutscenes here that like point you towards the Tactics Guild Tower and say, oh, that's the Tactics Guild Tower. But this is why the ornithopter is cool. Normally you have to do like a whole bunch of flying up this cliff and stopping at like slightly higher elevations and stuff and go all the way around. But if you know what you're doing, you can just fly all the way around and skip that. But yeah, as discussed, I don't mash this, I just time it, because I find it much easier. We'll be seeing a flight very similar to that later on. So here's our next dungeon where we'll fight the first boss. The first real boss, should I say. And pretty much all the encounters here, if I get into a battle chain, I won't be able to beat. So I need to play a little bit safe here. See, this one I'm just gonna have to flee from. But it's not a chain, so I can flee from it. Luckily I have a lot of extra HP growth on Galil here, so I can flee, lose a little bit of max HP, and it won't really matter. Because 50 is enough for the first boss, so having 68 is quite a bonus. And we're going to be cheesing the heck out of this boss. And you will see what I mean. So our strategy is very, very simple. Remember how earlier I mentioned that taking damage, dealing damage, and people dying causes you to build your ignition? Well, we're going to be abusing the taking damage one. And I'm just going to block with Galil. The thing about shields and blocking skills in general is that if you're in a defensive position in formations, you usually cover for your allies. And so we're going to be doing this fight by blocking a bunch with Galil until he gets his ignition. And this is just the only consistent way to do this without grinding a bunch of HP, more or less. And we don't have infinite healing sigils, which is why I equipped the medicines earlier on both Azura and Galil. Because you regen 1 SP every turn. And now I'm going to change to this, because I'm actually running a little low. Where's the medicine? And we're gonna hope Azura gets slain here. She did not. Right, so now we got ignition. And this, we'll just casually one-shot it. Hurrah! So it has about 500 HP. So although I learned Bash and procced it, it wasn't necessary at all. That was overkill damage. Oh yeah, the audio will be a little bit early because of the restreamer Discord audio desync. But that's the first set of chapters done. I'll try and delay my commentary in the future, just a tiny bit. It's hard to get used to. But yeah, this is the first set of chapters done. We'll switch to the second party after these short cutscenes. And so I'll need the Ignace naming incentives shortly. I'll let you know when I've got the menu open.
You got it, Visage?
Right, so here's Ignace. We'll be using him a lot too. So, can I get the name?
Yep, Ignis is going to be Ace, ACE.
ACE. Right there. There's Ace. So, here's Vivian and Ignace. They're demons, which is like the highest class of the races. But Vivian is an airhead and incredibly curious about everything. Whereas Ignace is just standard, strict, but also powerless butler type. And so Vivian drags him along to here, Gears Rock, because she wants to know more stuff about stuff. You'll have to forgive me on vague plot things. I don't really remember the stories of my speed games very well. But we get these annoying ladders here where you have to press down to climb down them, but for some of them you have to press up to get onto the ladder, like this one. So you have to like time switching to down correctly, else you'll just climb off the ladder again. But I'm pretty used to it by now, so no trouble at all. So Vivian and Ignace, as I said earlier, all the characters that aren't Galil and Azura are incredibly powerful. These two, you can see it. They have like 160 and 200 HP. The one thing about demons and beast folk as well, although Barbarossa hasn't got any yet, is that they have an entirely unique set of skills they can use, which is spells. They can still use normal weapons as well, but spells are unique to demon kind and beast kind. And Vivian in particular has an incredibly powerful one called Thunder Emission, which will absolutely destroy the early game with this chapter. Or like, pretty much the rest of this chapter. Oh, it's the wrong menu. But first, we need to learn more scouting, because we don't have enough of it yet. We need as much of it as we can get, so that we don't have to deal with the enemies chasing us as much. So even though the 4 characters from the previous set of chapters aren't in our party anymore, their talents are still active. So we had free scouting to get all together on those characters, and they are still applied here. Oh yeah, and Tiggy joined as well. Tiggy also has a unique set of commands. She doesn't wield normal weapons. Instead, she can only equip cannons, and you'll see why shortly. But she can still use Sigilmancy, which is the everyone can use it type of magic, as opposed to spells being the demon kind and beast kind only. So here we're in the Burning Realm. You can see it's quite burning. Lots of the enemies on the world map here are very annoying to deal with, and there's a lot of tight corridors as well. But for now, we've just got a bit of a walk to go, so if you have any donations or you want to do shoutouts, then now's a great time.
Sure thing. So we have $50 from Nightflyer. No comment, but thank you very much for that. And we have $20 from Azure, who says, donation dance. Woo! So those were put into Matilda's incentive. We are currently $90 out of 200. So thank you guys.
That was no escaping that, unfortunately. So luckily, even though I can't flee this because it's a chain, Thunder Emission is just going to make quick work of everything in these fights. Because it is very strong. It's also AoE, which is nice for these random encounters. She won't actually be the most damage on bosses, because Tiggy gets an incredibly overpowered skill very early, although it has a condition to it. But that condition is not very complicated. This dungeon here, the Junkyard, is very, like, strange but interesting design choice to it, where there's a bunch of puzzles, like block puzzles you have to do, but you don't really have to. You can pay money to these, like, random NPCs that stood around. It's percentage based of your money, or it's a percentage of your money. So if you don't spend any of it, this will cost, like, pretty much all of your 1000 SO to use all of it, or to do all the puzzles like this. But naturally, in a speedrun, it's just faster to do this. You still have to push some of the blocks though, just to get to the NPCs in question. Letting go of these blocks is actually way harder than pushing them. Great. I have to. And it's a chain, of course. I have no choice. Literally no choice. And I can't even hit both of them. This is trying to be difficult. I'm actually gonna run out of SP on Vivian. Before the end of the, like, fights. Oh my gosh. Another fight that I can't AoE. Alright, cool. Jeez. These random counters are not being kind. Yeah, you can see I'm already down to 384 SO. You start with 1000 in this set of chapters, so... And here's an accessory in this chest, which only Tiggy can equip, and gives her access to a couple of unique skills, which is Blast mode and Precision mode. We'll be using only Precision mode in this run. On this one as well, you have to fail this puzzle to get the option to pay to win it. But it's still faster to fail it and then pay to win it. Like so. A hippo, yes. There will be many, many hippos. Don't worry about it. This isn't the first. This isn't the only one. So yeah, I'll be going into precision mode here. And using Hound Killer, which is an incredibly overpowered skill. As you can see, it did 370 damage. And this is without it hitting its weakness. It does bonus damage to beast-type enemies, not to be confused with beast-kind. But that was a water devil-type enemy, so that was without its racial bonus. And the racial bonus is like 50%, so it hits pretty hard. So now, just a whole bunch more world map running. Hopefully we don't get caught by any more enemies. As I say, this world map journey through the Burning Realm, these are the worst ones by far, as far as, like, enemies just sometimes not being avoidable in any real way. Anyways, if you have any other shoutouts you want to do whilst I'm traversing the world map here, then go ahead.
But yeah, while we're waiting for donations, NAMI does have some social media accounts. You can follow NAMI on Facebook at NAMI, Twitter. NAMI has a Twitter account at NAMI Communicate. Also has an Instagram at NAMI Communicate, and has a Tumblr account, notalone.nami.org. Just a reminder, this marathon we are raising money for NAMI.
Anything is hard. Literally failed saving twice. And you'll have noticed in a couple of spots I've been pointing the camera in somewhat unintuitive directions. And basically, some cutscenes, mostly those that happen on the world map, will turn your camera to face a specific direction. And if you already have your camera facing that direction, you get to skip that, basically. Which is just a small optimization. So unfortunately my Vivian has no SP because of all the random encounters I got caught by that were chains, so I couldn't even flee them. But that's not the end of the world here. It just means I'm gonna have to rely almost entirely on Tiggy for this fight. This little mini game here can be awful. As you can see, there is a lot of enemies. And if the little black orbs that it's shooting hit you, they stun you for a little bit. So you have to try and dodge all of the stuff. All of the stuff. So here's an octopus. Nobody's going to be doing any real damage except Tiggy here, because I have no SP for Vivian. Well, I guess that's not true. She probably has built one now, yeah. But, as you can see, Tiggy can pretty much just carry everything. Pound Killer. It's just so obscenely powerful that it's ridiculous. So if you let it flee here, you can recruit the octopi into your guilds later. But we're going to be completely skipping that mechanic entirely, more or less, so I'm just going to finish it off. It gives you a slightly higher piece, or a slightly higher quality of gear from this cutscene here. Which doesn't really matter, but hey, you can slay an octopus, you slay an octopus. Gotta eat somehow. So luckily, on our return to Tiggy's workshop here, we don't have to go all the way back down the ladders. We have access to our elevator now. Hopefully I won't click world map by accident, which I've definitely done before in a run. Because if you do, you have to walk all the way through town again. Which is slow, I'm sure you can imagine. But now we're upgrading our duck with, well, you'll see. A visor and, well, a tube. And for some reason that allows us to use it to swim in lava. But now, unfortunately, we don't get the pleasure of auto-traveling to where we need to go. So we get to do a nice long slog of a journey through the Burning Realm again. Most of which we've already followed the path of. We just have to take a different direction halfway through. Which is a joy, as I'm sure you can imagine. Especially considering the enemies here, as discussed, are pretty much the worst world map ones that we'll see. At least as far as the enemies themselves go. There's another thing later that I will almost definitely rant about once I get there, but that's mostly an ergonomics thing as opposed to an actual game mechanic issue thing. But just heading into Pandemonium here, which is the final area of this set of chapters. Which, this set is about as... wow, that's only from very far. So the birds have this very strange AI where when they turn around, they... rather than stopping and turning around, they just keep going a little bit. But, well... they're actually easier to dodge than the ones that stop and continue again. Because they change their direction slower than like the plants and such do. Right, hopefully there's no enemies on this ramp. There usually is at least one. Yeah, there he is. And that one as well. Don't see me. Right, all good. So, like, if you get an encounter there, it's... you pretty much have no choice but to get slammed. So in Pandemonium here, there's going to be a bunch of rocks we need to break. And some of them will have some surprises in them. Oh, just press it twice. Right. Unfortunately, we have to be in the duck here. So, our hitbox is bigger for enemy encounters. But, oh well. Alright, so here's the surprise. It's another hippo! There will be plenty hippos. And they will be all throughout the game. Don't you worry. There will be no shortage of hippo at any point in this run. So here we get introduced to Chaosium Gems, which is another mechanic we entirely skip over. They're basically just a second currency, except there's only one source of infinite Chaos Gems, and it's kind of an oversight as opposed to an intended mechanic. So that little water stepping bit, that's pretty much the #1 place where you pretty much always get an encounter because enemies just sit smack bang in your way. But this time I didn't, so all good. Oh, and by the way, +1 hippo. Hippo kill count? 3. Nice shot. So for some reason, by the way, breaking these rocks makes lava spew directly over the water exactly where we need to go. But not really complaining. Gets us where we need to go. So this place is prone to crashing, so I'm gonna save. It didn't crash. All good. So here is a ruin. And there's a certain familiar enemy up here at the top that we're gonna have to deal with in order to explore these ruins a little bit further. But just like everything else, it's not really going to cause us any trouble because we have overpowered people. Oh yeah, by the way, surprise, it's a hippo. This game has a huge obsession with these things. And it will never stop, I promise. And it's dead. That's the second boss. The second real boss of the game. It's a massive joke. Because everyone except Galil and Azura is really, really strong. This game has quite a lot of variety, just not in Water Devils, which is what all of these things are. They're mostly hippos. Even the ones that aren't hippos are technically hippos because they have names like Hippocampi and stuff like that. Hippocanthus, things like that. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. Trust. So yeah, exploring. So that's the end of this set of chapters, more or less. Where we have unlocked. Oh well, we have found the bridge of this place. Yeah, there's not many choices to be made along the way until you gain access to the world map, basically, like travel, which is around the hour mark of this run. When we fight the first real challenge boss of the run. Everything up until now has been pretty much just slap it with our weapons a little bit and cheese the one boss. But we'll have a boss that's a bit of a challenge, and then we get access to the ability to sail, and then the world map really opens up, and there's a whole bunch of side questy stuff and recruiting people to be done, stuff like that. But again, any percent rules state that we must skip just about everything we must, unless it makes us go really fast. And just about everything in this game doesn't make us go any faster than just going and skipping stuff. So here we meet Jean and Rachel. This is a very, very interesting set of chapters, as you're about to see, where we do a huge amount of combat. absolutely massive amount of combat. And by that I mean, unless we get caught by random encounters. Absolutely no combat. So, if you have any donations or shoutouts, and feel free to ramble on as long as you like with them, because these set of chapters is minutes. Oh, I crashed. Of course. Marathon luck dictates I must crash. It's fine, reopening the game doesn't take too long, and I just saved.
We are halfway through the. We are halfway met the goal of Matilda, 90 out of $200, and we are also very close to that $13,000 mark. We want to give a quick thanks to our French and Japanese restreamers. This marathon, including Fell's Run, is being streamed via French and Japanese. You can see them at twitch.tv/thefrench-restream. And along Japanese, twitch.tv Japanese restream. A huge shout out to them. Thank you very much.
So, no deja vu allowed here. These are Jean and Rachel. And this is a very interesting set of chapters with a huge amount of combat. As definitely not something I've ever said before. But these two are members of the Signimancy Guild, which are humans that are more or less not on the side of demons, but they have a deal with the demons to save themselves, more or less. But both of these characters are actually relatively strong, but we won't be using them too much because they fall off too quickly. But they're incredibly useful in like casual playthroughs and stuff, because Rachel comes with a very powerful skill on bows called Break Shot, which has very high damage and hits all enemies rather than having a strict area of effect. It's like actually hits all enemies. Because most of the AoEs in this game are actually AoEs. And if the enemies aren't caught in that area, you can hit as few as one enemy with it, even if there's a huge amount of enemies. That's the wrong one. Yes, Rachel also comes with healing. And Jean he's not good long term, but he also comes with an AoE skill, Wandering Cloud, although it's very, very expensive SP wise. But he has a lot of SP, so it's not too bad. But it falls off a lot faster than Rachel's. Like, Rachel's is actually really good for a long time. Her only issue is that her HP is rather low. That said, we won't be using her too much, because, again, she falls off a little bit too quickly for our taste. Even though pretty much all of the game will be doing AoE damage, there's not that many fights that are completely single target in this game. But by that point, we'll have a better character for AoE damage. And we just can't afford to skimp on our single target damage. We also saw these two earlier. Okay, thank you for seeing me. So that enemy type, the octopus, they're actually the easiest enemy type to dodge in the entire game, because if you just run away from them, once they do catch up to you, they'll stop and like stick their tongue out. And if you just keep running, that thing doesn't catch you, so as long as they're not directly in front of you, it can never catch you, more or less. Yeah, Destructive Sigil is very, very powerful. I'm just gonna save here. Even though I don't really need to, because if I do get into an encounter here, I can clear them very quickly. Because, as previously discussed, very strong AoE. So yeah, as I said, we saw these characters earlier when we were in the Galil and Zoro chapters. They helped us out a little bit. And now we're seeing it from their perspective. Because the start of this game is our entire team is sort of not together yet. You don't just pick people up as you go, though. You sort of gather up. Party 1 and Party 2 join together, and then Party 3 joins them. And then the rest, singular joins. But, yeah, I've done one fight, and I didn't have to do it. It was a random encounter that caught me, and I fled. And we're almost done with the chapters, but we have a very important decision to make here. Which is to ignore these beast folk. And basically, if you stop them, then a character will survive later on, who otherwise doesn't. But if you ignore them, a character dies, and you get his sword. And it's actually pretty good. It's not the best sword we'll be getting at the time, but it is the second best sword we'll be getting for a long time. So, he's just gonna have to be a sacrifice for our cause. You also have to do 2 fights. One with the guys who you're stopping, and then one who tries to avenge the first beast folk you killed. So, skipping more fights, and gaining extra sword, and skipping guild recruits, which is a mechanic we pretty much entirely skip in this run. Yes, sir. Right, and now, we go back to, Gil and Azura. But, we saw, at the end of the second set of chapters, the ship crash here. And so, Party 1 and Party 2 have now grouped up. And Galil and Azura are going to be even more useless than before. Because now we have party members that are not useless. Well, that said, Ignace is still going to be mostly useless for most of the game. His damage is just going to be bad for a very long time, owing almost entirely to not having a good weapon. We're going to be using spears on him all game, but you just don't get a good spear until, like, very, very late. But he only has one job to begin with, other than tanking, and that is, being the one spear guy to equip the most powerful weapon at the very end of the game. So now we have our arc here, so we can sail the 7 seas, and never mind. Crash land. Time, of course, because, you know, something wrong has to happen. We haven't got all of our party members yet. We need a reason to go get them. And obviously they're our buddies anyway, so we kind of want to help them anyway, but we need an actual like mechanic reason to come get them. So here's the Cage Realm. This is like the largest realm, I would say, as far as like walking goes. But there is it does look kind of cool, I guess. And there's the fog and all these cool bridge things, which unfortunately are laid out in the most inefficient, most awful way possible. Because if we look at the map here, it's just a mess. And the worst part about these bridges is when you go under one of the actual bridges like that, you can't really see at all. If there's an enemy there, you're just gonna get caught by it. So let me do this before I forget. This is very important. So we just learned the haggling talent. You only need one across your entire party. And it reduces the price of shops by, I don't know, 25%? Something like that. It's quite a lot. And part of the routing is knowing which character you want to take that on, because it costs quite a lot of talent points, and you only have so many to work with, more or less, because you don't want to do any extra fights or grinding and stuff. And you need it by, well, the first big shop, really. Yeah, here's Jailsburg. This is the caged realm, which is where they sort of imprison all the humans who act out, and they like experiment on them and stuff. Lots of shady stuff going on in here. And it's also where the Signimancy Guild, who are subordinate to the Beastfolk and the Demons, are situated. And so here we just need to speak to a few people, including Jean and Rachel, but they're not going to join us yet. Just to gain some information on the area and gain a thing we really need. But luckily we have demons in our parties, so these Beastfolk panic and stuff when she shows up. Because, as I said earlier, the Beastfolk are subordinate to demonkind. Pretty much entirely. And you're supposed to like go into the Signimancy Guild and discover that place and all that stuff, but screw that. We're just gonna go. We don't need that. And we're not gonna review our information because we didn't read any of it in the first place, so we have nothing to review. Shoutouts to cutscene fast forward. So now we've got a long trek through the world map, and pretty much none of the enemies here are going to pose any issue, except the one that might appear under the bridge. So, if you want to shout out NAMI and do any donations that you have, this would be a great time.
Yep, definitely want to give a thank you to the community members who have offered prizes for this marathon. We do, including the incentives that the runners give us, we do have prizes. You are eligible for these prizes as long as you meet a minimum donation. We have prizes. I want to give some shout outs to Kinda Nerdy Housewife, who has offered an official World of Final Fantasy Bards charms. We have Super Mario 3D All-Stars. We have a Chrono Trigger vinyl, which is pretty awesome. We have some plushes made by Plush Mayhem. We have some perlers made by the RPG Chick. We have a SNES Junior, provided by P Diggity Dog. We have a Dragon Lord NES card by the Countess. We have some The City of Final Fantasy keychains by Veluv. And we also have some Questing for Glory collection keys from Mr. PR Miller, including a number of different prizes. You can check out the prizes link that is given by Moobot. So a quick thank you for all those contributions.
Alright, so soon we're going to be coming up on the Catacombs. I'll be quick saving a lot on my journey through the Catacombs and the place after it, because this is the place that has crashed the most for me in the past, which still isn't much. It's like I've got some few hundred hours in this game, and this place has crashed like 3 or 4 times. And as I said earlier, it usually happens on screen transitions, so it's easy enough to just save every screen transition or 2, and you'll be fine. But this dungeon is quite a maze, if you've never been here before, but it does have a lot of like goodies in these coffins, which are effectively like treasure chests, except some of them are traps. But as the rules of any percent dictate, we're going to be skipping a whole lot of stuff. We will be grabbing one treasure in here, because there is one that's actually a very powerful weapon, although we won't be using it on any of our like main characters, any of our DPS characters. We're just going to be using it as an ignition weapon later on. Because pretty much how I refer to weapons that you equip purely to use for their final strikes. You get 2 weapon slots in this game, and for most casual players and pretty much the entire speedrun, that more or less boils down to one weapon that you actually use, and one weapon that you use for a final strike. Some casual players also equip a Signamancy weapon on the second slot, but there's accessories for that later on, so most people tend towards those instead. Since to use Signamancy, you do need to have an Etheract to channel it, which I didn't really go over, but mostly because we don't use Signamancy for the rest of the run. The healing sigil we used on the first boss that we cheesed, that's all the Signamancy we're going to be seeing. Except from enemies. But enemies use very little of it. So yeah, here's the Bastille. We're gonna take these access spells and use them to not free the people, because freeing people is slow and takes time. But basically the recruits here, along with like killing the octopi and letting the guy in the town die when you're Jean and Rachel, these are all missable as well if you don't free them, but as usual, we don't really care about things that are slow. So we're just gonna walk right on past. I want that. I'm just gonna get in this fight. I didn't really want to, but I wasn't gonna wait for it to get out the way. Unfortunately, on these wall climbing things, there'll be a long wall climbing section later. If fights get in your way, it's often just not worth waiting for them to get out of the way. It's usually better to just get in the fight, flee it quickly, get it over and done with. But this is the place where our group of Party 1 and 2, and then Party 3, and I guess Party 4, which is Renzo and Barbarossa. Sorry about that. We'll all join up. Well, those two are joining up now, but they'll be doing very little. Because we have to go through this place with this group first. And basically, in this next part, there's a couple options. First, we're going to come in here. This is actually optional. I said earlier we didn't do much optional stuff. We're grabbing this because it leads to a chest with 5,000 monies in it later. And a strong shield, but we don't really care about that. The money is where it's at. And we're also going to, like, you can take two paths here. You can climb around the outside, or you can fight through these things. But if you don't fight through these things now, you have to do it anyway with the other group. When they come through. Oh yeah, I had to reset the game, so I have to put full-time speed on again. Oh, there she goes. Galil and Zoro will be dying a lot in this next, like, little part, as you can see. So, like, you can go all the way around with both parties, but it's just slow, so we're not gonna bother. We're just gonna fight our way through. And then we would have to go around the next time afterwards as well, because we have to go back. So it's faster to just get it out of the way now. This is also the more powerful party, purely because it has Tiggy in it, who's still incredibly overpowered with Houndkiller, still doing the most damage per turn of everything in our team, despite Sorcery being very powerful early on. And here we're gonna rest at this guild girl, because we don't really have the SP on Vivian to get through the next set of fights comfortably. And these fights can actually be a little bit dangerous, because this is where the game starts getting quite dangerous, because we're kind of underpowered for where we are in the game, because we haven't been fighting any random encounters. Now the first and most important thing in this fight is to kill the bow users first. That's the wrong... oh no, it doesn't matter, right? Yes, to kill the bow killers first, because that skill that Rachel has, Break Shot, I was talking about, the bow users here also have it, and it's very, very high damage and hits all of your party, so it hurts a lot if they use it. So the first two turns are just like all about killing those bow wielders. And then there's another fight immediately after, of course. And again, same thing as before. Kill the bows first, because They are very spooky. Which, it takes 2 Thunder emissions, or 1 Hound Killer to kill one usually. But yeah, if you're lucky, you can actually wipe here. If they just like use Break Shot on every turn. Even if you like target them first, they can just wipe you if they go all out with it. So yeah, now we're the other party, we're just running straight on up. And because we killed the armors on the way up, they're not there anymore. In our way. Just gonna run on through. Now we'll see our first glimpse of Jean and Rachel's AoE skills here. So Wandering Cloud here is like a line, and Break Shot just hits everything. And yeah, you can see that it does quite a lot of damage as it does this. Wandering Cloud does miss one of the enemies here, but it's still more damage than anything else really. It just makes getting through this fight a lot easier than the other party, because it's AoE based. The other party is better at single target, more or less. Now I need to switch you out for you, and you out for you. Because, as discussed previously, Galil and Azura, they really are not characters at all. And we have no more AoE to be done in the rest of this dungeon. So we won't be putting Rachel in, even though she would be better than Ignace. Because we plan on using Ignace for a longer time, it's better to have him in just to get a little bit of HP growth along the way. He can also learn some spear skills, because the less spear skills he has to learn later, the higher chance he'll learn the one we want at the very end if we have to do the final bosses with him, rather than Matilda. This door took me 2 tries. That's not too bad. It's taken me like 5 tries to get through that door before. For some reason, the loading zone on it is really, really, really displaced. It's like behind the collision, so it can be hard to get through sometimes. And so here is the first boss that can actually reasonably kill us without just high rolling really, really hard. Below a certain amount of HP, he can just kind of kill you and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's pretty much just a DPS race. Why are you on sword stuff? Oh god. It's a little bit of wasted DPS, but it's fine. And starting here, we can learn the skill of the run for swords, which is sword dancing. We're looking for Renzo to learn it as soon as possible. Well, that's Super Hawk at least, which is also good. As far as spear ones go. There it is. So the reason we want sword dancing so badly is it is the most SP to oh god. It's the most SP to damage efficient skill in the game. So I don't want to use these, but if he uses Misakayo there, I'm always going to. Yeah, it is ridiculously overpowered. It also helps that you can get very strong swords very early on in the game, which we'll see very shortly. Because we can get the best sword in the game in a few minutes here. The best one. But yeah, for like usually in speedruns you don't care that much about SP efficiency as far as damage is concerned, and you care more about like minimizing the amount of turns. But because of the nature of this run being so like few fights, and you build your strength so little, and you get so little talent points and stuff, and the final boss gauntlet is 2 long fights that are very difficult. You need SB efficiency to be able to get through it with any even remotely good DPS. And sword dancing is just like twice as SP efficient as any other skill in the entire game. It also helps that sword has lots of other really powerful skills. Like it has a very strong, like slightly stronger than sword dancing, but also very fast skill called saturation attack. That is also pierce type, which less enemies resist pierce type than any other type. And it has a very, very, very powerful late game skill that we really want to learn, but you can't really guarantee it, called Blade Waltz. Which is just a very high powered AoE, which is very, very important for the final fight. Because AoE becomes important. Else, because there's 5 enemies in the very final fight. And all of them are very scary. So it's pretty much just a DPS race to kill the ads. And Blade Waltz speeds that up a lot. So I didn't give a naming incentive for the ship here because we really don't see this name more than like once or twice. So now we have access to the ship. And here a whole bunch of like side questy stuff unlocks. And a whole bunch of new areas that you can go to, and some small islands and water devil's nests, and we're gonna ignore all of it. Except this one water devil's nest here. And there is one more side thing we're gonna do as well after this. So this water devil's nest is very important because it has that sword I was talking about. And a lot of people think you need to fight this thing to get to it, and this is a very strong enemy. But you really don't. You can just walk behind it and grab the Axe knife like this. We're gonna equip that right away, and we're gonna show you how much power it has. So this light sword here has 4 power, and the Axe knife has 47 power. Yeet. Alright, yeah, you can't quick save in here. So it's actually pretty spooky in here. I don't think I can beat most of the fights in here, because this is a level 5 Water Devil's Den. And this is why we need lots of scouting levels as well, so that the enemies don't see us, those big ones. We are going to rain? Yeah. And now we are going to get the true protagonist of the game. I'm gonna quick save before going over the dark current here, because I get into a chain, I die. So this is like the most out-of-the-way thing we grab in the entire run. And it's just because it's so overwhelmingly powerful that skipping it is not really a question. Okay, didn't even see me. And we'll see him very shortly. That's right. It's Pingu. Also known as Robbins. So we're gonna offer to be his bodyguard, because of the rewards you can get for doing this side quest from him, one of them is a Sigilmancy Ether Act. Alright, you can't quick save in here. Keep beginning. Which we don't care about, because, you know, as I said earlier, we don't really use Sigilmancy at all in the run anymore. And the one, if you offer to be his bodyguard, you get an item that sells for 3,000, which will be useful. So there's this fight, which is technically a random encounter, and you can sometimes get stronger or weaker fights. And this is a strong one, unfortunately. But he comes with a very, very powerful spell, Hard Rain. And the spell isn't normally that powerful, but he comes with a lot of starting levels on it. So he's just incredibly overpowered this early in the game. Because usually you'd come and get him like before or after you start doing the Snow Realm. But we still have a lot of stuff to do before we actually do the Snow Realm. So now he's left, which is why I didn't do the name just yet. I'll do it when I recruit him for realsies. But yeah, Robbins is incredibly overpowered early game because of the AoE. And then he's very useful late game, because he's the one I was talking about earlier who has the unique unarmed skill set. And one of the skills he has is called Courageous Flapping, which gives your entire party strength up, endurance up, and agility up. Which is... endurance up is nice quality of life. Agility up doesn't matter at all. But strength up, we use strength on all of our DPS. All game. So, very, very good. Some of his other skills can be useful as well if you learn them. Like there's an AoE 9-hit skill that inflicts stun sometimes. And because it's 9-hit, it inflicts stun quite a bit. But yeah, so we're about to recruit Robbins here, so I'll need the name very shortly. But there's a relatively lengthy cutscene first. So I'll let you know once I'm in the menu.
You got it.
To name him. Disclaimer, I can't bring myself to call him anything but Pingu during the run itself. Right. So, Robbins is... oh, that's the wrong menu. Robbins' name.
Robin's name is Robbins, but with 4 B's, so it's going to be ROBBBBINS.
Alright. Fair enough. That's acceptable. Very much so. Right. And now we put him here. And the most important thing of any speedrun of this game, having him as the field avatar. Which isn't actually important. But we'll lie to everyone if you all keep it on the down low. And we'll say that it makes your hurt box smaller, yeah? Just tell anyone who asks that. And we'll be square. Yeah, he also goes really fast. For sure. Right, so now we can actually, you know, continue with the plot, because that was a side quest. And I'm gonna need to rest in this tower here. I don't normally need to. Actually, do I? What weapon broke? Hang on, I need to check. Was it the bow? He doesn't have it equipped anymore, of course. It was the bow. Okay, never mind, I don't need to. So, depending on which ignition weapons I have to use to finish off the... oh yeah, I can do this now. So we can use the Honor Filter here now that we, you know, have it. We didn't have it here last time because it was the other party that had it. But yeah, depending on which weapon I have to use for the ignitions in the bad fight, if I have to use any in the first place, I have to rest at that tower there to repair my weapons. But since it was a bow that I don't... I will use it again, but I rest before then anyway, so it's not a big deal. Now we're gonna take a path we've never taken before in this region. But it's still just a bunch of world map movement, although it's kinda cool world map movement, but it doesn't really need my commentary, so if you have any shoutouts, feel free to go ahead.
We do have a donation, a $20 donation from Sandrina, who says Matilda and Mothman, so I believe they want to put it toward the Matilda incentive, which is, we're getting pretty close to meeting that. And we're also getting pretty close to the 13,000 mark, so thank you very much, guys.
So we do that little flight up the bridge. I keep flying up the bridge because, similar to the tower earlier, if you don't do little flights on the way up, you'll get a cutscene. So even though it's a little bit slower to move, hit the wall. Even though it's a little bit slower to move like that, it's worth it in the long run. And this is the fastest path up to the cave we have to get to. So we're taking this one. Simple enough. There's a few paths to get here. All of them involve getting to a higher elevation and flying over. But we can do it rather than having to go like all the way around. Usually you come up there and you go over to that little one and then over there, but we can just make the flight from here instead. And we're gonna see is this the one? Yeah, I think we're gonna, yeah, this is definitely the one. We're gonna see a familiar foe here. I'll give you a one guess as to which familiar foe I am talking about here, because it's definitely not a very complicated question based on how many familiar foes we've seen so far. But first we have a little cutesy cutscene, I suppose. Lava? Not entirely inaccurate. Yes, a fun, cutesy cutscene of team building and racial unity and this, that, and the other. I don't know. Again, not very big on remembering plots of my speed games beyond the like basic parts. So our actual like goal right now is to go to all of these ether gear places and stop them running so that we can do stuff and get to new places. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, it's definitely a hippo. But it is a lava hippo, so it also wasn't wrong. Oh, that's Devil Snatch, which isn't bad, but it's worse than Sword Dancing, so we won't be using it. Oh, wrong one. But it, like, Devil Snatch is one of the 2 or 3 backups I have, and he died. That's like the one character you really don't want to die, because he's most of our DPS right now. Because he has the Exceed Knife and it's 47 incredibly overpowered attack power. If we don't kill it fast enough, we might actually die. Okay, we're fine. I use that attack instead of the other one. So all of these hippos have an AoE attack that's like a wave. Although this one I believe looks like a lava wave. And it hits very, very, very hard. The AoE it just hit me with, nothing compared to the other one. Unfortunately, my Renzo is really, really weak now. So, I might have to rest in the Ark before the next. Actually, it doesn't have to be in the Ark. I can do it in the tower before the next fight, because the next fight is much harder than that one. So a nice thing about this, like getting back from here to the beach, is that it's just like flights, because we're very high up and we need to get to very low down. So just 2 nice long flights all the way to the beach. Oh yeah, and we also need to visit all of the like guilds to recruit them for our alliance. So we'll be going to all of those, which is what we did in the town of Gears Rock in the Burning Realm, rather than going straight to the cave. So I'm gonna rest here. Wait, where's the inn? Is it this guy? Nope. Where's the inn here? Okay, it's this guy. So Renzo very rarely gets destroyed in that fight, so I didn't know where the inn was here. Like, if he loses maybe like 20 of his max HP, it's fine. But he lost like 60 of it, so I was not about that. So yes, we're back here at the Ancient Museum. We saw a door like the one we just opened in this place at the very beginning of the game. That's the hint that you're supposed to come back here during this part. Although it's also pretty obvious considering there's not that many places to go in this region. that we haven't already been to. There's a couple other things you can do in here right now if you feel like trying to do everything. There's a couple recruits, and you can learn how to do the Ornithopter upgrade, which isn't necessary for the plot, so we skip that. But yeah, this fight is much scarier than the other one, because there's multiple enemies basically. And shocker, there's another hippo. But this hippo is also actually much more powerful than the other one, despite being way smaller, as you can see. I actually can't revive her. That could be bad. I think I know why that happened. I never equipped the armor. Whoops. I need to do that before the next, like, area. It's very important, actually, to equip that armor. Because usually she can tank all of the hits in this fight. Super serious punch. I should use it. I might lose. Oh no, we're fine. Oh yeah, we also get a... Each time you do one of these, you gain a... what's called an Ancient Ether Act, which its final strike is a spell. Or sorcery. There's a couple... Like, they're pretty much... They're also really powerful weapons. But they're pretty much the strongest final strikes you get for most of the game. We'll be using a lot of them in the final fights. But they have a downside to them, and that is, if your character can learn sorcery, so is a demon or beast folk, they sometimes learn the final strike as a normal skill, which sounds sick, right? But what actually happens is that the normal version is way weaker than the final strike version. And on the turn that you learn it, your character will cast the normal version rather than the final strike version, although the weapon won't break. But losing a turn like that to use a weak skill, just because you happen to learn it, is very, very bad. And so a lot of the which weapon goes on who is less based on stats, because each character does have their own individual stats, like strength, endurance, agility. But they do have a pretty significant influence, but they're far less important than the other side of the issue, which is not learning final strikes when you're trying to use final strikes. So we look really like damaged and stuff here, but it's fine because we don't really plan on doing any combat for a while. Although we do have a really cool flight coming up, just like the first really cool flight that I talked about. But either way, that's quite a ways away, so if you want to do any donations or shoutouts, then feel free to go ahead.
You got it, Fel. We do have a $50 donation from Gorge Express, who says, Mothman. So including top of the Matilda incentive, we do have a bunch of incentives throughout the marathon, including the incentives for our next run, Shin Megami Tensei. We have Bring Mothman to the final fight, choose a specific character ending, fight Black Frost, name the main character. Be sure to take a look at these incentives, see which one interests you. For the current run, we are currently halfway through the Matilda incentive. But yeah, check out the incentives in this marathon, see what you like, and if any of those interest you, feel free to donate and choose that incentive.
So when you speak to, I forget his name, even though it was just on screen here, you get a whole bunch of new talents, which we really don't care about at all, really. And as discussed, we're going to do another cool flight here. It's going to look very similar to the one last time, but it's actually much easier to do. And also way longer. So like here I would have failed the flight from before because I lost too much height. I would have crashed there. But this one's much easier to do because we have much less distance, or like much less height needed. So basically, the thing about the Ornithopter is if you fly too far away from a wall, you start descending really, really quickly. But as long as you stick close to the wall, you can fly off of the continent and all the way around the continent, and it'll be fine. And that's the idea behind the 2 cool flights that we did. Oh my god! In my practice run, I got this to fly to this little hut in one go. So this is an optional hut. This is why we picked up the advanced access spell earlier. The 5,000 gold in that chest. It's like the entire reason we got it. It's just a very high amount of money for how far out of the way it is, aka not very. Nope, that's not the right button. And so these bridges are a little less painful now that we have the Ornithopter, because 1, we travel faster, and 2, we can skip some of the, like, awful parts of it. This is the only part where I mash, because I see the tutorial in the middle of the Ornithopter there, which makes continuing my rhythm very, very difficult, as I'm sure you can imagine. But this is pretty much the last Ornithopter we're going to be seeing, which is a bit of a shame, but it's okay. By this point in the run, I'm always fed up with the Ornithopter anyway, so... Because, as I say, while it's cool, it's also very frustrating to try and, like, do your timing right. Whenever I mess up and lose all my height, it feels really bad. So... it's nice to have it be over and done with. So this is the last guild that we need to recruit. And then we'll have the alliance completed. And luckily, that also warps us back to the ship. Which is more or less why we want to do this one last as well, because this one's really, really out of the way. So now, we are pretty much done with this part, and we're about to go to the next continent that we're out to liberate. Which we've already seen a sneak peek of, because we visited Penguin Land to recruit Pingu. But nice long amount of cutscenes here. And on unlocking the alliance, you unlock all of the guild stuff. And they do a lot of cool stuff, like they give you more roles for your formations, and they can craft equipment for you and give you better equipment, and teach you new spells, and give you bestiary, and the shops in dungeons can have better items, and a whole bunch of stuff, right? And instead, we're just gonna say no. And we're just not gonna... We're just not gonna do any of that. It's too far out of the way. Alliance Alive is a lot more user-friendly than Legend of Legacy. I'll say that. Legend of Legacy is incredibly brutal if you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know what you're grinding on and stuff like that. But this game is pretty much just push through the game and do whatever the heck you please, and it'll kind of work out in the end. You can use any character as long as you're willing to put time into them and stuff like that. So those things actually can't catch you, as long as you sail directly away from them. But yeah, that's the biggest difference between Legend of Legacy and Alliance Alive. This game has, 1, a lot more direction, and 2, is a lot more friendly overall. So because it's so cold here, we can't use the Ornithopter here, because they need reasons to stop you using it, right? They can't just let you use it all the time. That'd be silly. So there's going to be a lot of walking in this region, but there's not too much for now, and then there'll be a long walk afterwards, after all the cutscenes and stuff are done. And then we'll get our next transportation method, which is not that much faster than walking, but it is faster, and it's at least cute, although also very frustrating. I alluded to this earlier, but I'll explain it when I get there. But that fort, usually you're supposed to go in there and like get some exposition on the Snow Realm here and their struggles in the fight against Demonkind, because they're in a perpetual war with them here, as opposed to everywhere else where we were pretty much just slaves. These guys are actually fighting back. But we're just gonna skip all the exposition and go straight where we're gonna go. And the game is kind enough about halfway through the run to give the runner a toilet break in it. So I'll have that coming up, which will be a great spot for any kind of shoutouts or donations. So as soon as I enter this town and start fast forwarding the cutscene, will be then, because for some reason they thought it was a good idea to make you stand and wait for about a minute. So go ahead with whatever you want to say.
Sure thing. Since we are halfway through this run, for anybody who's just joining us, I'm going to give a little bit of a refresher for NAMI. I want to remind you that this marathon, Questing for Glory, Hope, and Healing, we are here to support NAMI, which stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So the nation's largest, this is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization, whose work is focused around these three pillars: education and support, awareness, advocacy. NAMI participates in nationwide awareness opportunities like Mental Health Month, Suicide Prevention, Mental Illness Awareness Week. They have partnerships with a wide range of companies and organizations. For example, they got Fox Sports and Google to help them get their name out. NAMI also engages in federal advocacy and supports state organizations in their state-level advocacy efforts. They also have a national helpline that's available from Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Let me go ahead and get that phone number. If you want to reach out to the NAMI helpline, it's going to be 1-800-950-NAMI. And yeah, that's going to be a shout out for NAMI there. Looks like Fell's back.
Yep. I'm still just standing here waiting for the plot to continue. I will say this, I hate it when games do this. They give you control, but they trap you in a cage and make you wait. There's no way to speed it up or anything like that. You just have to wait. But as a speedrunner, it's definitely appreciated, because you get like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes here to just... And it's like halfway through the run as well. Like perfectly halfway. To just and take your toilet break or your whatever else break. But here at Hakurai Castle, it's a very frustrating town if you don't know where everything is. Which I don't, but I know where the important stuff is, which is all that matters. And that's because it's a big castle and it's just layered. And there's a west and an east side on each floor, which alternates because the staircases have to crisscross for some reason. And casually, when you're just like trying to find all the shops and inns and everything else, most people spend like 10 minutes just running around this place trying to find everything. Because it's huge, to say the least. And there's a lot of walking around to be done. Luckily, they did think to put in a warp from the top floor to the bottom floor in for you. But it's still, like, there's a lot of stuff you have to do on the actual floors themselves still, so we're still going to be seeing the floors. So first things first, I need to buy some armor here. First armor I've bought all run. Because this is the place that has the best armor that's remotely affordable in the run. And so I'll be getting most of it here. Some of it also has strength +1 on it, which is really nice. So I'll be buying almost all of my armor here. In a PB attempt rather than a marathon run, I would be buying all of my armor here. But I'll be doing some shopping at the very final shop in this for marathon safety, because the extra armor helps a little bit from the final area, but you have to do a side quest. Which I have a funny story with that side quest, where in my PB of this run, I did that side quest. I went to the town, went to go claim the reward and everything, and I picked the wrong dialogue option. And if you select the wrong dialogue option, instead of getting 10,000 money, you get a recruit for the guilds, which is completely useless in any percent. But 10,000 gold is really useful. But in my PB, or like that run also taught me that that side quest for the money really wasn't needed at all, because in that PB I also continued to have my best endgame ever, despite having way less armor than usual, just because I did the really good speedrunner thing and I got lucky. So, sometimes mistakes lead to way better routing. Well, I say better routing. But, basically, if you don't get that armor, it makes the final fights less consistent. And the final fights are never, ever consistent, no matter what. But, it basically just gave me the motivation to cut that stuff out of the run, which is like a minute time save. Yes, bottom line, just get lucky. It really is that simple. And I've applied it to a few other things in the run since, like picking up less stuff and just doing less things. But yeah, root for being lucky and then get lucky is pretty much #1 strategy, I would say. But at least now we're coming up on our next movement method, which I guess I'll start describing it here, or at least the mechanics behind it, because we'll get to see it soon enough. Because bunny. Give Bunny a carrot, and Bunny. There's one issue with this bunny that they didn't think of, and that is when you run straight ahead like this, with the camera behind you, you can't see enemies that spawn in front of you. And that's really awful. And so I will be running in diagonals so that I actually get the opportunity to see enemies that spawn. Because, it's really difficult to not get encounters when you can't see encounters. They just really didn't think the camera angle through very well. It's like a whole bunch of speedruns, especially in RPGs actually, go diagonally because it makes them move faster. And luckily that has taught me how to move diagonally really well, because in this run, it's not to go faster, it's just, oh my god, not being able to see where you're going is really bad. Also, it has this jump mechanic where you can jump up and down ledges. This mechanic is really not very user-friendly, I will say. This is probably the least ergonomic vehicle in the entire game, and this is in a game with the Ornithopter, which encourages mashing. Because these jumps, you sometimes just get caught on stuff. If you're too close, or too far, or there's a tiny rock in the way, you just won't jump up or down the ledge. But at least it's relatively fast when you're just, like, riding around. Cool trick here, you don't have to jump down to the lower ledge, you can just walk to the edge here. Game. Just start the cutscene. But during this, like, set of chapters, we're gonna start seeing, just how much freedom they give you in the choices you make here in the game. Oh, whoops. Wrong selection. And that is, you get a lot of freedom in this game in the sense that this minigame here, it's like a standard stealth in RPG minigame, and it's over because you don't have to do it. They gave you the option to just say no. Now, there is a downside to this, technically, where the next sort of minigame is much harder if you don't do the stealth minigame. But it's okay, we have a plan for that as well. And you'll see that plan when we get there, because it's a doozy of a plan. Trust me. We'll call it Plan D. But yeah, so that's one minigame out of the way, real quick. And it's good that you don't have to do any combat in that section, because they take away Vivian and Ignace from your party there. And Vivian and Ignace are actually somewhat important for this part of the game. Mostly Vivian, because Thunder Emission is still really good. Mostly due to being AoE. But now we've gained their trust by skipping the minigame. However that works. And so we're allowed to have Vivian and Ignace back, despite them being demons. But, soon enough, they're gonna attack the fort that we saw but completely ignored on our way here. So, we're gonna have to go help those guys out. And help them we shall. But first we have to, speak to the Lord. But yeah, like this part of the game, it feels like it drags on a bit if you're not playing, because there's like no combat really for like quite a while. But while you're actually playing it, there's actually quite a lot of things to do, a lot of things to think about, and a lot of small optimizations in movement and such. So, oh, whoops. So it's not too bad as a runner. It does keep you on your toes. It's not like a resident sleeper. The only part that really is the trip to recruiting the Snow Bunny. So yeah, we can do this trip a little bit faster now. Now we have the bunny, because we can just jump down these rather than going all the way around. But it's only faster on the way down, really. On the way up, because the jumping takes a certain amount of time, and you actually move pretty quickly on the bunny, it's actually faster to just run up the slopes as usual, rather than jumping up. That's due to the height limit on the jump. Like, it only took me like 2 or 3 jumps to get down, but to get up it takes like 5 or 6 jumps. So here we're out to protect the bridge here. And Barbarossa's, sorry, B's plan is to place explosives on the bridge. For I don't know how that's supposed to help, honestly, anymore. Considering demons can like fly and stuff, but you know, he tries. But so now we get a nice 2-party journey here, where you have to defend the bridge from a certain amount of enemies with your parties. And oh no! I forgot to put my parties together. Whatever shall I do? And basically, more enemies appear here if you don't do the stealth minigame. But it's okay, and you're about to see why. And that's because, as discussed, this game gives you a lot of freedom of choice. And you don't have to do this one either. If you just die, in Plan D, die, it just ends. And now we have this fight here. It's like a super special boss fight and all that. And again, freedom of choice. you know? Pacifism and all that. You don't have to do this one either. Which, to be fair, this fight is incredibly hard for any casual party at this point. I did beat it on my casual playthrough, but that's because I tried like 3 times without realizing that I didn't have to do it. Because I just reset out whenever I lost. So yeah. Even though the stealth minigame makes that stuff harder, it doesn't matter because you don't have to do it anyway. And so that's why skipping the stealth minigame is okay. And the reason I put Renzo in against the boss instead of Galil, despite the fact that Renzo survived an extra turn, is it lets me build up his skill a little bit. And now we hit the power spike of the game. This is the part a lot of people complain about. This one you unfortunately do have to do, and it's very difficult to do so. There's a long like enemy gauntlet that you have to do first, and that's pretty difficult. And then there's a very hard boss at the end of it as well. So I'm gonna do the rest of my armor shopping here, because fortunately for us, all of the shops appear up here now. Whoops, wrong one. And luckily the 2 shops we need are very close as well. So that's the shopping done. Very, very fast shop, just because they're right there. So I'm gonna save here just in case I mess it up, because it is very important you have the right squads here. So luckily, if you're doing any percent, you don't need to make the first party here, which makes this significantly easier. Nope, that's the wrong party member. Yep. Oop, wrong menu. Renzo. Not you. Medicine pack. 4 gauntlets. File gear. Rated hat. And then you need the Demon Slayer. And I guess you're gonna have the Gravedigger. You need whatever the spear is. Warrior shield, braided hat, kid, gauntlets. That's this party done. Actually, I should do this for reasons. And remove this. Ah, I didn't. I actually forgot some stuff on the other parties, so I'm gonna have to do that too. This is fine. You need a weapon to explode. And you need weapons, period. Mostly to explode though. And I need to do scope 2 as well. Because again, I forgot to get them up to do stuff with. Wait, didn't I have another just recipient? Huh. That's fine. Right, so there we go. We're all done now. That was a bit inefficient menuing because I forgot some stuff in there, but it's fine. This is why I put Robins in the first slot. Very important. If I put Jean in the first slot, we'd be Jean here and I'd have to menu. Putting Robins as the field avatar. Dang, look how zoom. And so, during this, what you can do is, it's, oh wow, it's basically a bunch of optional fights in this part. Where you can save people and you get rewards for it, and recruits and stuff. But if you do the extra fights, the fights that I'm doing here attack the party at the top, which makes it very, very difficult to actually like beat this gauntlet. It's very difficult to do so. So you just do whatever, sword dancing, precision mode. And now we start using sword with him. So now we want to learn sword dancing on Barbarossa. Because, you know, as I said before, sword dancing is just the skill for the game. Now that he has a good sword to equip to learn stuff with, we'll try and learn it. His unarmed skills would still be more powerful than everything that isn't sword dancing for now, but learning sword dancing is so important and these fights are easy anyway. So... it's actually looking a little rough. People just keep getting nuked. I know I said we don't use Sigilmarcy again, that's because usually I don't. I usually don't have to do this healing stuff. I'm not about healing. I really want to grab that. Actually, I can. This is the one where you have to go in there anyway. Neat. So I have 9. That's a decent amount. So these skeletons are really annoying because they can put you to sleep. But the beast folk here, has a guard skill, and it's very difficult to actually like hit the skeletons through it. He is just not learning sword dancing, or any of the skills that reliably lead into sword dancing either. Wow. I'm gonna need a save here because Ritual's HP is looking rough. And so, there's 2 ways to game over in this game. The first one is, obviously, a party wipe. Oh, and here's Shiki. We'll see him, we'll recruit him later. Yeah, the first is a party wipe, and the second is for any party member's HP, max HP to hit 0. Whereupon they die. Rather than just being KO'd, they die. And anyone dying is bad. So, you know. And so Shiki's pretty powerful. He comes with a decent sword. And his cross slash, while worse than sword dancing, does come with some extra levels because he starts with it. But cross slash is also a very easy, like it's easy to learn sword dancing from using cross slash. Because different skills lead into other skills in different ways, different extents. Don't know how to word it very well. Right, that's en passant, which leads into it easily. It'd be great if you'd actually learn it though. Nope. So far. One power syrup on Renzo here. He has very little SP left. We still have a couple fights to do before we get a heal. Oh, I never put her on Hand Killer in the last fight. Whoops. Come on, just learn it already, please. Oh my god. Need Rachel to not get absolutely slain. I don't think he's gonna learn it. Hopefully he learns it later at least. Like, I've definitely had runs where my entire party just didn't learn sword dancing before, more or less. And it's not like we only try and learn it on a couple of people or anything. Okay, it's fine. Looking good. Alright, so that's the gauntlet done, as I call it. Now we just have to do the power spike boss, which, like, pretty much everyone who casually played this game complains about this boss because they went into it unprepared. It's not so bad if you go into it prepared. But when it's catching you unaware, it really is rough. Especially if you put, like, a lot of people in the first party here. Because the first party here is much weaker than the other two, and you'll see why in a second. It'll seem like it's only weaker because it's Azura, but there's actually a lot of different reasons. Well, 2 different reasons, specifically. And this is grosser again. Basically, the first party not only gets hit by Armed Force Intervention, this skill, very quickly, compared to the others, but the first party also doesn't get auto-ignitions, which the rest of the parties do. That's still dancing. That's nice. We'll do that just in case, because it can sometimes pull stuff out of your ass. Oh, I used the wrong one. Whoops. Oh well. I used the wrong ignition weapon with Barbarossa, but it doesn't. Yes! Oh, that's rare. So if you get a bash skill to proc on Armed Force Intervention, you'll survive it. Which is very, very, very rare. So I managed to kill him with the second party, which is... I haven't done in a run before. So, neat. And I've always queued up Bash with Galil there, because anything else he does is completely useless. So we're just gonna do a couple things in the town now before moving on, which is we need to recruit our boy. So shortly I'll need the name for Shiki.
You got it, pal.
And there's also a weapon we're gonna pick up, which in my PB runs I don't pick up because it's a little out of the way, but it does help with consistency. So in the interest of marathon safety, I will be picking it up. So first we have to speak to this girl to get the dungeon key, and then there's a hidden chest just over here that has a bow in it, which has a quite powerful AoE final strike on it. And here's Shiki. So there's a cutscene to recruit him, and you're allowed to pick any of the options here, and he'll join you. So that's neat. So, name for Shiki. Let's go.
Okay. Name for Shiki is Shobushi S. Shobushi.
Shobushi. Alright, there he is. And Shiki is very, very strong. He comes with a pretty decent sword, and his sword skills are already pretty high. His HP is higher than Robin's base HP, and Robin's is a tank. Wait, I need to do something because I made a mistake in the Grossa fight. Usually I don't have to go to the inn to rest here, but because I accidentally used Barbarossa's sword as his ignition weapon instead of the axe, I need to rest here to get it repaired, so that I actually have a sword for the fight that's coming up. The fight that's coming up isn't particularly difficult, but I do want him to be working on upgrading his sword dancing, because we'll use it for the rest of the game. Also, I should really do this. I keep forgetting to do it. It's a little late now, but I'm still gonna equip the armor on Tiggy, because it is still useful in this next fight. So similar to climbing back up to Hakurei Castle, it's not faster to jump down all of these. There's just the one jump there that's actually faster than running around. Because the animation associated with jumping is quite long. But now we have to do a long trek that follows mostly a path we already took. To get to the ruins where the Aether gear is, so that we can clear that place out. Like the other ones we were doing. So, if you have any donations or shoutouts to give, this is probably a good time before I get to the next fight.
Sure thing. We currently don't have any donations, but I would like to push this. As Fell is getting closer to the end of the run, we do still have that one big incentive where he's going to recruit Matilda. We are currently 95 out of 200 on that goal, so we need 105. We want to see that incentive be met. Let's try and push for it, guys, and we're also close to that 13k mark. I would like to thank everybody who has contributed to the marathon so far, so thank you very much for that.
So on the topic of that, the recruit Matilda, the cutoff for that will probably be at the end of the Rainbow Pillar dungeon, which is in about 25 to 30 minutes, I would say. And that's because after then, I'm going to start getting very close to the point of no return, and I also need to do an extra shop if I am recruiting Matilda, because the 3 extra fights that you have to do to recruit her will be consuming my consumables supply at a very fast rate. So the cutoff for that will have to be a little bit early. The worst part is I have to come back to Hakurei Castle to buy the consumables as well. But I don't have the money to do it right now. And so here we're going to see another familiar enemy. That's going to be a little bit different than the ones we've seen up till now. And I'll go a little bit slower to point it out. And that's because, shockingly enough, it's not a hippo, but a hippogriff. Anyways, moving on. And this is what I mean by all of the ones that aren't hippos of these water devils are named for hippos instead. For whatever reason. I should really kill these small ones before they cause me pain. Oh, she's dead, huh? Oh yeah, I forgot to equip the medicine box on Shiki. I should do that. And he's gone. And now we got the Muse Lyre, which is the strongest of the special ignition weapons. I think Hippocampus has already been and gone, I'm afraid. I believe that was the one in Robbins's. The Water Devil Nest we had to complete to recruit Robbins. I believe that one was called Hippocampus. There might be another occurrence of it later. We'll see. Because that is a random encounter enemy. I'm pretty sure that one's Hippocampus. Oh yeah, now we have a party, which is sick. So we're gonna do all this cool party stuff, and just like in RPGs, we obviously gonna have to talk to everyone, right? Except, you know, Alliance Alive, freedom of choice, all that, yada yada. Instead, we're just gonna speak to our girlfriend. That's all we have to do. Because, you know, why would we speak to everyone like a normal RPG, when we can just speak to one person and go fast? And Ignace got very, very drunk and very, very regrets it. I remember this part of the plot. But now we're gonna start heading towards the final area. Well, okay, not the final area, but the final continent. There we go, that'll do. Oh yeah, now we can fly. I forgot to mention. So, the fastest way to get to the next continent is to fly here and go south. For whatever reason, the cutscene trigger for the cutscene that happens when you enter this region happens really, really early when you approach from the north. Whereas if you approach from the south, you have to like go halfway across the quadrant for the cutscene to happen. So going south and wrapping around the world map is infinitely faster. It's like a good 30-40 seconds saved, just going that way instead. And it's something, I'm pretty sure none of the other runs do it, so I guess nobody else just, like, tested it. But all of my runs have done this except, like, the first one. But the first one was a disaster, to say the least, so, you know. So here in the Crystal Realm, rather than a war or humans being enslaved by demons or anything like that, there's just no demons here at all. Yeah, the estimate is somewhat inflated because the final boss can wall me for as long as it pleases. So I sort of mid-ranged it at taking about half an hour to kill the boss, because I've definitely been stuck on that boss for an hour before, and I've definitely gotten it first try before. So like 3 hours would be my actual like estimate if I was to guarantee first try final boss, but because final boss is funny and does things, I gave myself a little bit of time to wipe 100 times to it first, without going half an hour or an hour over estimate. So here is Eshturn, Matilda's hometown, and she's annoying here, and she will get in our way. So we're gonna enter this house and leave, and that'll teleport her up to where she's going. And this is the wrong shop, isn't it? Yeah. Of course it is. I'm gonna have to go to both, but we're gonna... Oh, I don't shop... No, it was the right shop. I'm silly. I don't buy the weapon here, I buy it in the next town. And yeah, she gets in our way on this staircase even on the way up to the shop, so entering that house and leaving just gets her out of the way. Yeah, the Crystal Realm is pretty cool. I agree. But basically here, rather than... Yeah, there's no demons in sight. But what's actually happening is the upper management, which is this guy, is doing underhanded deals with the demons, basically, and helping them with a bunch of sketchy stuff in order to sort of protect his region here. But obviously they're not gonna just uphold their end of the deal forever. Especially now that we're here. Wahahaha, by the way. Because bronze is best. And so, now we're gonna go beat up a dragon. Which, if we meet the incentive to recruit Matilda, we will be beating up 3 more later. Although those ones will be much, much harder. So on that note, I haven't learned sword dancing on Shiki, and I haven't learned saturation attack on anyone yet, which is bad. Because I want all of those things. Pingu, where are you going? Yeah. Having Robins for this area is so good, because he makes the cutscene so much better. So here's the dragon. This fight's pretty easy, it's just a standard DPS race with whatever you have. Hey, that's still dancing. Good stuff. Now just someone learn saturation attack, please? That'd be great. Guess not. So now that we beat up a dragon, we can fly on him. Because, you know, that's how RPGs will work. We're coming up on the fabled "This Dungeon Sucks" dungeon. You'll see what I mean when I get there. I'll try not to overstate it. I just dislike it a lot. And, you'll probably see why. So when you're on the Wyvern, there's like enemy symbols. And they start like different fights than most of the other fights in the game. We'll see exactly one of those. Luckily it's really easy to dodge the enemies on it because you go really zoom and they go really slow. And now that we're here in the buck middle of nowhere, we have to speak to 3 random NPCs that have almost nothing important to say. Because plot triggers. And we also need a Bile Sword. Also I need to switch Tiggy out now. Especially since she's been doing a really bad job of, well, anything. And this is where we buy our final sword, the Chris. And now I'm gonna switch up my equipment a little bit. This is correct already. And the Azasubo. This is correct already. And you have the... Where is it? I lost axe. And... Is this? Yeah. Control and save it those. And I need to equip this. It's the wrong one, isn't it? Nope, this is the one. Medicine pack. You take the Wargod Sash. There we go. So I never explained what the medicine packs do. Basically, in this game, you can equip either one specific consumable item to your accessory slots, and then you can use it once in fight. But each type of consumable has a pack for it, which when you have that equipped, you can use your entire inventory worth of consumables. And the medicine one is just, obviously, for medicines. So my party is in the wrong order, I need to fix it. After I'm finished with these fights. Because it starts mattering in the next dungeon. Or in the next fight. Still haven't learned saturation attack on anyone. What is this? Someone died? Okay, yeah, she died. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. Right, so Robbins needs to be at the top, Shiki needs to be second, and then anyone else. Doesn't really matter. And Robbins being at the top is important because he's going to be my tank later. And, because I will be using formations a little bit in the final fights. Like, up till now, the only time I've changed formation out of the, full offensive, everyone in the front row, everyone in attack stance formation was during the first boss, where Galil needed to block. But in the final boss, I'll be actually making use of the fact that different positions go into different locations. Namely, there's a, like, arrowhead type one, which I'll be using. And Shiki only matters that he's in the second slot because he has enough SP to use Dogfight here a lot, which is much more powerful than Dragon Breath. It just makes this fight a lot faster to have Shiki be able to use Dogfight. Everyone else doesn't really have the SP. Well, I'll be doing my next set of talent menuing soon enough, so I'll my SP management will be a lot easier after that. So, the next dungeon coming up, I'll go over it just a little bit. That little part in the prison from about an hour and a half ago, that I had to fly on the outside walls, or fly on the outside walls of? Climb on the outside walls of? Yeah, it's that, but it's a dungeon of it. And so, what that means is there's gonna be no real way to dodge all the encounters. And so I will be getting into a lot of encounters. A lot of them. And the problem is, or the bigger problem is, that if I get into a chain encounter, and this is the main reason I've been picking up the Order Gems rather than the retrying fights. If you get into a chain encounter, all of the fights in that dungeon are too strong for me to be able to fight. And you can't flee from chain encounters in the normal way. The only way to flee from them is to die, and then spend 3 Order Gems to skip the fight. Oh yeah, and here, this is like a little maze. There's 2 ways to get here. You can go around the left and go all the way around, or you can go to the right, and not go all the way around. So, we go to the right. It's not particularly difficult to get through either way. It's not like a massively complicated maze. Pretty short no matter which way you go. But yeah, as you can see, it's just going to be one long climb. And what that means is it's going to be like 10 to 20 random encounters on average. But first I need to rest, because I have some broken weapons. And I need those fixed. Or not, I guess I didn't. Oh yeah, I rested at a different spot, didn't I? Huh, so if I rest there, I don't need to rest here. Oh yeah, and there's also these lightning bolts which stop you moving. And I don't know how that one hit me. But, you know what? Whatever. There's no way to predict these lightning bolts, by the way. They're just... They happen, if they hit you, you get stuck. Easy dodge. Usually dodging here isn't worth it, because you're more likely to accidentally get into a chain trying to dodge than you are just taking the encounter and taking the few seconds of time loss. And continuing along. So at the end of this dungeon, we'll be cutting off the Matilda incentive, because that'll be like the last time I can reasonably get it done.
Is there a time, like minute estimation?
Let me check my. Let's scroll this down. About 10 minutes, depending on how much I die.
10 minutes, guys. Let's try to get those last minute donations, and if you want to see Phil get filled out.
And there's a strategy I'm using here because there's guaranteed fights on like a lot of these spots, like this one here. There's no way to avoid this fight if you're going this way. We're gonna bring Galil into the party to flee with, so that we don't hurt our max HP on our main party for the final fights up along the way. And there's gonna be about 5 fights that are like completely and utterly forced on the path I take. That's not the one. I always do this. And that's gonna cost me my cycle as well. Yeah. It's like these birds, they do move randomly. But they move at set times. Okay, I'm just gonna take that. Get it out of the way. This is the spot where I'm most likely to get into a chain encounter. Because there's this guy right here, this plant thing, right in front of me. And it's very easy for him to chain you with the bird above him. But we need Robins back for the actual fights. And there's a fight on every one of these, like, platforms. So yeah, you can see why, as a speedrunner, I don't like this place. There's a lot of random encounters. There's very little you can do about it. There's the thunderbolts that stop you. There's also a lot of fights on the way up, which isn't too bad, but I need to do hard rain on this fight. But it's also not ideal. So yeah, it's just overall a bad time. At least this one is relatively simple. You just go straight up after you get onto this one, more or less. I rarely get encounters on this one because the cycles just line up. The bees, like I've said that the birds are random. The bees, however, they follow completely fixed patterns. But 2 of these fights on the way up can kill you, and then the boss at the top can also kill you, which is thanks game sort of situation. Also, these enemies here can use a spell called Astral Bomb, which damages themselves, so it'd have been nice if we had seen that, but they didn't use it at all. Also, I'm supposed to have done talent points, but it's fine. We'll do it now. Because I can do these now. So you take this one. You take this one and this one. Although you probably won't need those. Maybe won't need those, I guess. To be more accurate. There we go. And that's all the talents I'll be doing for the rest of the game. Hang on. Am I supposed to go this way? Yeah. Let's check my notes. I'm gonna grab that actually, since that bird's in my way anyway. Oh, yep, it's catching me. I'm just gonna save anyway though. I didn't put Galil in. It's fine. It doesn't matter to lose a little bit of max HP. As you can see, I only lost 4. I can lose up to 40 doing it. Because you can lose up to 10% of your max each flea. But it's pretty rare to go above like 5%. Great. I'm gonna go left here, even though I normally go right, because that guy was right there. Please no. Oh, this is gonna take a long time. I actually didn't realize this went back down. I should have just gone right still. Should have had faith. It's because I missed the cycle as I went and grabbed that auto gem. Usually you can get in front of that skeleton. It's fine though. I should have just held the L. I'm gonna save for all of these just in case. You'll notice that as the run has gone on, I've been saving more and more, and that's just I don't want to forget to save for a while. And then crash, basically. So again, these ones also, these skeletons also, I'm gonna use Umsong for a bit to regen some SP. These skeletons also put you to sleep, as you can see. Which is a little annoying, but nothing you can do about it. Except DPS race and hope for the best. We don't have anything to cure sleep with, so... Probably running really low on SP on him, yeah. Should be using Umsong on him too. For a little bit. And this is why I like to put the Exceed Knife on Shiki. For this part. Because he has like no SP issues at all. Whereas Renzo and Barbarossa have a lot. So you want to go left here even though there's an enemy right there. You can't skip this enemy. There's no doing it. Just because this path is so much better than the other one. So you have to be careful with these bees. Because they can catch you off guard with chains that happen from really far away. Like that. Just as I was saying, be careful. So I'm just going to auto because there's like no way I can win this. I might win the first fight, but the second one will kill me. And then I'll be given the option to flee. At least I don't think you can win this one. I know I can't win the next one up. I've been caught by that one in a rumble. Yeah, okay, there's no way. At least have an AoE attack, so there's absolutely nothing to be done. Come on, please go. No, stop with the animations. Unfortunately, this is just the only way to get out of chain attacks, other than closing out the game and relearning safe. And you can only do it if you have all the gems as well. Oh my god, that still caught me. And this enemy is always in the way as well. Yeah, there's only a couple more segments of the dungeon left, so better get in quick with the donations if you want to see Matilda. Although, again, if I die a lot, that might get extended. This fight has a pretty high chance of killing you, and then the next one up, the one at the top has like a coin flip on if he uses the big AoE attack or not, and whether the big AoE attack confuses you or not. Yeah, I know what you mean by the incentive. I need a sword dance here though. So these crystals can apply a status effect called Petrify on you, which just covers you in crystals, more or less. Where is he? Okay, that was going really well. Please. So, yeah, there's just the boss at the top here, left. Although there is 2 of these segments before the boss on this one, as opposed to just being a fight on the platform. Thanks, Lightning. No, there's no fight here. one last little section of the dungeon, and then the boss fight, and then incentive cutoff, I am afraid. Oh, this one didn't get in my way for a change. Pretty much always does. Just put Robin's back in. Save, just in case I run out of gems, which is very possible. I need to do this as well, actually. I have a lot less SP than usual. Robin, or Barbarossa will be fine. Alright. Boss of the dungeon time. So here's Rouge. He has the Lilimarline, which is another one of those weapons I was talking about with the Ancient Ephract stuff. With the really powerful final strikes, and he can use that stuff at the very end, and it is almost a wipe. I say almost because it doesn't quite wipe you. But it can also confuse. If you get confused, chances are you wipe. Especially if they hit someone you really don't want them to hit. Like the confused person, that is. The damage is looking pretty good right now, at least. Oh. I do want to heal Renzo again, actually. So he's probably going to do it here. Yeah, there it is. Nope, there he goes. That was pretty much my last chance, probably. Unless I get lucky here. Okay, he kept hitting Robins, so it might be okay. Okay, all good. Righty. So, I've got some cutscenes here. But, the incentive will be cut off very, very shortly now, because that is the last chance I'm really gonna get for it. Right, and now during these cutscenes as well, there'll be some time for you to do a shout out if you please.
Sure
So I
thing.
can be in time for one for a bit.
As we earlier in this run, we gave some thanks to the people who contributed with prizes. We thank the restreamers. We also want to give a thank you to Kevin, whose Twitter's account KButts Corner. He has been doing the logo and promotional banners for Questing for Glory since 2017. So thank you very much for that. As always, thank you very much to the runners, showing off their cool games, and commentators explaining what's going on.
Alrighty, so the big question is here. Was the incentive met in the end?
Let me give one final refresh.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just came off short. The good news, we did get a donation here, $35 by Anonymous, who says, "Thank you, Fel, for showing off Alliance Alive." Thank you very much for that. But unfortunately, the Matilda incentive was not met.
That is unfortunate. Either way, I'll go say hello to Matilda, at least. Since it'll take 15 seconds, just to rub it in. And then we'll go smash our face into the final boss a few times. So yeah, we'll say hello, show you what you're missing, and we'll leave her behind. Goodbye, Matilda. So, it's okay. At the end of the day, this incentive is a bit of a win-win for the viewers, because Matilda makes the game a lot more consistent at the very end. And so, what's gonna happen now is the final boss is going to be a nightmare. But thank you for all the donations, even if the incentive didn't get met. Where am I going? It's great to see support for the game. And we'll see how many tries the final boss takes me, and how much time it takes me. At least. We might get some comedy. in there. Because it's very, very difficult. And my characters are very, very weak right now. Like, weaker than average. I haven't learned Saturation Attack on anyone, which is a good way to... What's usually a good way to do a little bit of burst damage if you just barely miss the kill on some of the ads. And obviously I haven't learned Blade Waltz on anyone yet, because I can't have learnt it yet. There's only 3 fights in the any % route that can teach you it. Which is the final boss itself, both phases, the boss before that, and the boss before that as well, who I have fittingly dubbed the hungriest hippo. Because, by the way, hippos aren't done yet, in case you were worried about that. So, you might have noticed in the cutscene at the end of the Crystal Realm that we just finished, I actually got 50,000 SO, which is the money, for like completing the area. And you'd normally think, oh, well, that's great. That just fixed all your money issues for all your equipment and all your consumables and everything else. And in a casual playthrough, that's usually true. And in another category I'm rooting, which is all recruits, that's also true. But in this category, any %, that is unfortunately not true. That's because there's a very specific use for that 50,000 SO that they give you. And again, it comes down to how much freedom of choice the developers gave you in which route you want to take in this game. They give you options that most games just would consider unthinkable. And it makes the game faster by quite a bit. So earlier, I dove into a level 5 Water Devil's Nest to get the X-Seed Knife. And then I just left, because that's all I needed at the time. The next part of the plot normally is that you go see Blue in Blue's Oasis from earlier where we slayed the octopi. And he tells you, sure, I'll help you if you get me these 4 treasures from the level 5 Water Devil's Nests. Or, you know, you could pay me 50,000 of the monies, and I'll help you anyway. And most games they'd give you like an absolutely unreasonable, unfathomable amount of money to give them, and then you would never ever be able to do it. But in this game, he's just like, nah, just give me 50,000. And the plot conveniently gives you 50,000 immediately before this as well. And so the any % route will always pay 50,000 to Blue here to skip those 4 dungeons, because they take about 10 minutes in total. Oh. I forgot there was a double confirm on it. But before I go to the final area, I need to do a little bit of safety stuff, which I should have done whilst I was still in the Crystal Realm. But it's fine. I can go straight from there to the final area. Because there's a side quest that I alluded to earlier with my fun story about that side quest where I cut it out in the normal PB route. But it's still very useful for marathon safety. Which gives us 10,000 gold, SO. And that'll buy me some extra armor for the final fights. So, for now, once we gain access to our airship again, because cutscenes are long, as they be, we'll have to fly back to Dracopia, the buck in the middle of nowhere town that we saw earlier. And one of the guys we beat up on the Rainbow Pillar is there now. And you can either recruit him, or you can take his money. Yeah, as you do. And so I will be taking his money. And I'm going to save before I do so, just in case I select the wrong option, like I did in my PB. Refuse. So yeah, if you refuse him to join you, he'll just go away and give you money. Which is great. Because we care way more about money than a recruit we're never going to put in a guild. Alright. And from here, we're going to go to the point of no return and beat the game. Which is this way. Right in the middle of the world. But there's a bunch of relatively difficult fights along the way. Especially since I'll be using Ignace. So first step... Oh right, yeah, he has no armor on for the arms because of the thingy. So I need to equip this first. I need to make sure everyone has the right stuff. Right, yeah, who's the little Marlene going on? You, I guess. And you need a Jasper Spear. Maybe it's better to do... It's better to do it this way, actually. Alright. So this is a big teleporty gate that'll take us to the Demon's World. It's a bit unfortunate that they decided to make this a point of no return, because there's really no good reason for it. Not even in the plot, really. But it's fine. Oh, and by the way, hippos. That's the wrong one. I should be hitting this one. Go on you. So this fight is rough, because, one, that, Confuse. We don't like Confuse. Confuse is spooky. And this is why we bought the Pax medicines earlier. There's this and the final boss can confuse you. And the status effect is terrifying, because your own party's damage is way higher than your party's health. And it doesn't help that I have... my healer sleeping. So Robbins is usually the dedicated healer of the run, because he's a tank and he doesn't really do that much DPS. I'm having to shuffle responsibilities a little bit here. Which is making this fight take a lot longer than it should. But I haven't even killed one yet. He's confused again, really? Jeez. And my highest DPS is asleep. As you do. Wait. What did I do with him? Pax. This might be bad. I might need to reset out of this and try again, because I'm losing way too much of my resources. Although the better way to do that would be, I guess, to just do this. Ugh. So yeah, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna die, because there's absolutely no way I beat the final boss with this low resources. I've lost almost all my confused heals. I've lost most of my actual heals. And I still didn't learn any useful skills in the process either. If I'd at least learnt useful skills in the process, I could have considered it, but... It's taking a while to die though, which is unfortunate. But yeah, like, this is the main threat of this fight. Like, it can kill you out of nowhere, but the more threatening thing is that it can just starve you of all of your resources for the end of the game, which you really can't afford to deal with. Can you not? Right. At least they've slept the low DPS character. I'm not gonna get him out of Confuse. I'm not gonna heal him either. Because Ignatius isn't that useful for this part. He's mostly for the end of the game. Because I get the strongest weapon in the game is a spear. Except like one very like exceptional weapon. I'm just gonna use these, even though it can make the end of the game a little bit more rough. Because I feel like I need it. My party is just so weak right now. We should just be able to DPS race it down now. Maybe not. Shiki died. No, we're not gonna do that. That's a risk. It's a big risk. Oh, they both got stunned. Cool. Tengu, I'm gonna need you to stop casting spells at me. Actually, we're gonna do this just because if I do learn it, that'll be useful because it means I can't learn it in the final fights. Okay, I didn't learn it. That was a journey. That's a good sign of things to come. If I'm already struggling on this fight, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen on the final fight. It doesn't really matter that I used an order gem there either, because on the final fight he has an attack that drains your order gems. So chances are I won't get to use them on him anyway. And there's only so many random encounters I can get caught by for the rest of the game anyway, more or less. But yeah, pretty rough. Pretty rough. We'll see how it goes moving forward. Hopefully it doesn't go too badly. It's fine. I have experience running a category of a game where I died on the final boss for 5 hours, so I've I'm over dying on final bosses for extended periods of time. Well, I haven't run that in a marathon, of course. It was a 19-hour category. Anyways, we're just coming up on a... We've got these cutscenes and then there's just journeying through a town. So if you've got any shoutouts, any donations to read out, this will probably be the last chance unless I die for extended periods of time on the final boss, so...
Look, for those who are still looking to donate, we still have plenty of incentives throughout the whole marathon. We got some incentives for the next run coming up, Shimigami Tensei Nocturne. A lot of cool ones. And again, we are supporting money and raising money. We are raising money to support NAMI. Some of the messages that NAMI gives us, it is okay to not be okay. NAMI wants us to know that you are not alone. Reach out for yourself. Reach out to help others. NAMI gets it. NAMI's here for you. Visit nami.org for more information.
Right, so here's the final shop of the game, which has a bunch of really powerful equipment in it. And I'm actually gonna sell some stuff to get a little bit extra money, just to try and buy a little bit extra. Because things are looking very rough. Only these ones really... My strong medicine count is looking a little bit low, but we'll see if we can make it work. So how many of these can I buy? Okay. So I'm gonna try and buy... Okay, miss out on that, that's fine. I might have some more stuff to sell. One on you, not you. And then I guess I should equip this on someone. So do. Right. Well, that's the final shop. And that, it doesn't seem like much, but that shot actually increased my chances of survival actually a fair bit. Just not... By no means is beating... Well, that's a wall? Oh, I'm sure I've gone through that before. My chances of beating the final boss is by no means consistent. Even if I had Matilda, even if I bought 60,000 gold's worth of shop items there, it would still not be consistent. It would just be more consistent. Even if you have a, like, overpowered New Game Plus party, that fight still isn't 100% entirely guaranteed, because it has an AoE instant death attack, which is, as I'm sure you can imagine, the most fun thing to deal with. The chance it procs isn't that high. Okay, I'm just gonna go around. Guys going nuts. Yeah, the chance of it proccing isn't that high, but it can proc on literally your entire party in one go. So there's exactly zero way to make the fight 100% consistent. It's just shortening it by doing more DPS and having more HP so that you don't have to, so that you can shrug off the damage he does is very useful, of course. And the boss before him, with my current like stat levels, also will not be remotely consistent. This next boss should be mostly consistent though. He usually isn't too much of a problem. Our familiar enemy, once again returning for his final hurrah, Mr. Big Hippo himself. And here I'm gonna use Robbins' flipper attack, because I'm trying to learn some of his... Now I start learning saturation attack, of course, now that it's way too late. I'm trying to learn some of his other skills. That's the one I wanted. Crazy Pinball. It's AoE, it hits 9 times, and it can stun. Which, all of those are incredibly useful traits to have. Do I have enough power syrup for this? I don't, do I? Oh, 3 is fine, actually. Because I can just use 1 on you, 1 on you, 1 on you. Ignace doesn't really need it. Right, so that's that one. Now, this next fight, again, there's not really a way to make it 100% reliable. You can if you're, like, really, really overpowered. Because his way of killing you is just raw damage, but it's raw damage of the 400 damage varieties, so there's no way in hell you can survive that in any percent damage, or like stats. There we go, that's the word I'm after. Okay, so unfortunately I did get the proc of the most useful guild benefit, which is the PDEF one, and he countered. That's bad. But, it missed. So I should be using saturation now. Okay, he didn't use it, so I might have a chance to kill him here. I also can't use my ignitions here, really, because I need my ignitions for the last phase of the final boss. And some amount of your ignition gauge does carry over between fights, and we're dead. I actually shouldn't have done Crazy Pinball there in case I had killed him, because I would have had to reload my file anyway. I can't afford to have everyone be dead just before winning. It's okay to have like one person dead. And yeah, there's just no way to survive that attack really. There is technically a strategy you can use to survive it, but it's not remotely reliable. And that strategy, we actually saw it in the last fight against this guy. He countered twice. Oh, can you not? Yeah, we saw it earlier in the run, which is you can use a bash skill and proc the counter. Come on. That's not what I meant to do. I wanted to use it on himself. Because I don't want to kill him. Because again, I can't afford to have this many people dead. Going into the final bosses. This fight at least is pretty quick, even if you die on it. So it's fine to just like mash retry like this. No, wrong one. Oh, there's Blade Bolts at least. That's the most important skill in the game. To have, oh my god, he did it so early. You know what? Fine. Be that way. Of course you do at the time I learned Blade Bolts. Really early. So, one thing about this boss, it is a HP threshold for him to start using that attack. But the HP threshold is like 75% or something. And there's no way for me to do that in a short amount of time. Nice stun. I'd rather have PDF down though. Yeah, there's no way for me to do 75% of his health in even like 2 turns. Can you not counter? Nice stun. I should probably try medicine with him since I have crazy pinball. Stun him. Nope. Hey, I learned Blade Bolts again. Don't kill me. You know what? I'm just gonna try. Alright, we're just gonna try it like this. It's probably not gonna work, but we'll try. We'll try. I can always load that quick save and try again, because I quick saved just before the fight. And there's no more quick saving to be done in the run, so... the save before the final boss is a hard save. So I'm pretty sure I could have won this fight last time as well, but I chose not to. But this time I'm just gonna try it out anyway. I have my hard save on the final boss, if it seems possible. I have my quick save on the boss before, if I need more ignition. We'll see how it goes. Having Crazy Pinball is actually really good for the second, or for the next phase though. Because I can use Ignace as my dedicated healer on the second phase. Oh. Because Robin's doing more AoE damage than him. So this is cool also. And his thing. Right. So the most important thing of this fight is to be SP efficient. Except with Robin's. Robin's doesn't matter. Or Robin's SP efficiency doesn't matter, more accurately. No, I shouldn't do that yet. I need to wait for the thingy. Let's see. And this is why sword dancing is so important. It being so SP efficient makes this fight very doable. Who did I heal with who? Okay. Alright. So the cool thing about this attack is it aims at one, and then you can change your formation to sort of dodge it. Depending on who he targets here, you can have better chances at dodging or not, basically. Or you can dodge the entire thing, you can dodge the attack entirely and it whiffs everyone. Or you can just get one or two people hit. If it targets Robins, it'll hit one person. If it targets in this situation, Shiki or Ignace, it'll hit two. And if it targets the outside edge, in this case Renzo and Barbarossa, it would hit nobody. So he should die here, most likely. Yeah. So that's phase 1. That phase is easy. The only threat he has there in that phase is the insta-kill AoE spell. But in this phase, as you're about to see, he has 4 big threats. This is why AoE is so important. These things are incredibly powerful. And if you get them too low without killing them, they do incredibly powerful attacks similar to our own ignition attacks. And the start of this fight is pretty much all about just DPS racing these ads down before you die, basically. Because you can't tank these for any decent amount of time. It's just impossible. I need to do this before he dies. And this is why you need your ignitions available, because most of the ignitions I have equipped are AoE. And I think I'm about to die right here. If I'll be real with you here. There's no point in healing that guy. I'm also actually running out of items, which is not good. Yeah, there's absolutely no way, I think. I just need 9? 2 turns away? Yeah, there's I think there's no way I can beat this. I'm gonna just load the quick save. Because I still don't have my ignitions, like, and I'm very far into the fight. This is why you can't afford to have too many people die. Well, may as well just do our best. Yeah. Down we go. So yeah, I'm gonna need to load my quick save and get a better fight against Grossa. Because there's no way that's happening ever. Right. Damn it, missed again. Ugh. I need that to not miss. Right, I need to just go in now, I think. Oh, that's Blade Bolts. Stun? Nope. Stun. Kill me! And ugh. Some nice early Blade Wolves. Do I have a stun on you? Might as well use it. He's not doing significant damage, so... Don't kill me. Oh my gosh. Enough people survived, actually. This should be enough people. I'm just gonna DPS race it though, but if I can beat him here, I might have more. I might have a chance. I learned Blade Waltz on someone. Okay. He low rolled, finally. Right, let's try this again. I'm willing to try this multiple times with this situation. Wait, I need to equip the halberd first. Oh, alright, let's go. I've got 20 minutes to smash my face against this wall, and however long I can go until they mercy kill me, on top of that. 20 minutes to hit estimate. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, I think the reason this is so difficult right now is I have very little HP and SP growth on my party overall. And Ignace refuses to learn the skill I really wish he would. What's it called? Which is Dual Dragon Strike, which is the only one that really does real damage. For him. It looks like Discord is decent damage. I guess it's not bad, but it is really not. It ain't it. I do need to try and save some of my healing items though. I don't have that many. Okay, he targeted the outside this time, which is good. Because now, you'll see here, he's gonna completely miss everybody. I need to save some SP on Shiki, I think, actually. Screw it. Yeah, it just misses everybody, because I fixed my formation. Which is cool. Okay, there we go. Right, I'm going into this phase fairly healthy. As well. I need to make sure I keep enough SP on... Actually, Renzo's the one who died. And he has Blade Waltz. So I might be okay just... going in straight away. I guess Ignace also died. We'll make him be the healer for now then. Who needs healing most here? You. It's just a shame he only has Jasper Storm, which isn't very good. Right, so time to heal up. Not with you though. You have a job. You can heal as well. Oh, that's the Fizz Death down, that's good. It would have been really nice if I got that a turn sooner, but you know, whatever. So now I think I'm gonna get absolutely slammed this turn. Because I didn't kill them. So I'm gonna have to do my best. So I'm gonna use Saturation Attack here, even though I don't have the SP for it really. Because it is faster. Oh no, that's not good. Okay, that didn't go too badly. basically, if you can survive... Wait, I'm doing this right? If you can survive the ad phase, you're usually fine. Okay. So most of the ignition attacks they didn't hit too hard, which is good and rare. I keep forgetting who I'm targeting with who. Okay. Now I just need to not get confused and not get insta-killed, and we should be okay. For the most part. I guess I should use his stuff, because you have, like, no SP. Speak of. Actually, how much does it cost you to use this? 8? Okay, yeah. Should definitely be healing until you get that. I guess I'll heal him, nice. Oh my god, that hit a lot of people. Right, we have to hope he doesn't slay us here, because we need to do this. Right. Confused, no! Why? Why you do this to me? That's the name. No point doing that. That's the insta-kill attack, by the way. It also hit someone, because the effect played. Great. Man, it was looking so good. I know you confused 2 people. At once. Might I add. Okay, that whiffed. We're good. Alright, we might have stabilized a little bit. The problem is, if you look at my max HP now, it's very, very low. No, it's not the one that's worth it. I'm also very low on healing items. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to do this. Game, no. Don't do it. Oh, yeah. That's cool. We're still like nowhere near as well. That's the worst part. Because we're not in the final phase yet. Might as well do this whilst I can. There's no point using a strong here. So we're just gonna die to AoE no matter what here, so I'm just gonna assume he's not gonna AoE me. Now. Like that's oh no, we lost. We lost, dude, no. It was looking so good. I mean, I can still try and make it work, I guess. I may as well use this. Fine. We'll do saturation attack instead. This is worth a strong medicine. Shiki has no HP. Okay, yeah, we lost. So this is what I was talking about earlier, the alternate lose condition. I didn't wipe. Oh, I have to pull F4 out. I ran out of order gems. Basically, there's an alternate ending if you lose with no order gems. Which is what was happening there. And in that case, it's faster to just do this. Right, let's try again. But yeah, that was the alternate lose condition. Shiki ran out of max HP. And when you run out of max... When someone's max HP hits 0, you lose. Regardless of the state of your party as a whole. But as you can see, it takes quite a while for it to get to that point. I guess I should have used the safer formation there. I do regret just a little how I went back into the charge formation. Right, I see. This is manip. I wish. Yeah, I think his PDF got reduced, so that's good. Oh, the video. Oh my god, my internet. Am I still on comms? Can you hear me?
Yep, you are still on comms.
Okay, so it's something about my OBS or Twitch server. Or no, it's not even a Twitch server, it's RTMP. Huh. The RTMP isn't dead, is it? Let me just try and stop my stream and restart it. Well, tech issues are the best. Oh, it was the RTMP. I see. Okay. Well, if they can still hear me, I guess I'll commentate my battle. My epic battle. Alright, so that's first phase down. This one was very uneventful. He didn't even get to target the... He didn't even get to target the ground with the cannon. So that's good. Damage is looking good. Didn't learn Blade Bolts on the fight though, which is unfortunate. But we already have Blade Bolts from the previous fight. So let's see how this goes without video, shall we? So I don't need to do that. Crazy Pinball. And just go all out on this guy. How much damage have I taken? So I'm pretty healthy going into this final phase, and I have a lot of SP as well, which is really good. I killed the first phase so quickly that I don't even have my ignitions ready going into the second phase, which is both a good and bad thing. Right, there goes my ignitions. Ignace took a dive, but that doesn't matter. We don't care about that guy. Well, we do, but not as much as all of the other guys. And let's use our ignitions. Ads are still alive, still slaying me. Still alive, still slaying me. Not good. Need to try and survive here. Out of Blade Waltz, which is not good to see. Alright, 1 ad down. 2 ad down, but it used its ignition attack, so I got slain. Alright. It confused one person. What do I do here? The worst part is it was Renzo, who is my most important person right now. Okay, 1 ad left. And it's the spooky... The least spooky one, rather. Sorry. 2 people dead. Healing with Shiki like a blasphemer. Hoping this kills? Nope. Okay, it did the insta-kill AoE, but it didn't kill anyone, so we ate. Black screen because of technical issues with the RTMP server, which is what we're using to restream. So, I'm commentating the final boss. I mean, we've already seen the entire moveset of the final boss, so it's not too bad. At this point, you guys have seen everything it has to offer. It's just a matter of me trying to smash my face against the wall, trying to beat it. Oh no. Okay, it didn't confuse me. All good. It did use the attack, but it landed the confuse on nobody, so we're all good for now. You are very low on SP, so you can be a healer now. Alright, just the final boss left. And a cannon hits square in the face on 3 people, despite being in the good formation, the safer one. Our HP values are still very high though, so it's looking decent for now. As long as I don't get confused as badly as I did last time, all will be well. Or, you know, he could snipe half my party. It's looking a little rough, but it's nothing a few medicines can't fix. Okay, confused one person, so we should be able to fix this somewhat. Please stop using that. That'd be great. I'll switch to this formation. So our HP values are actually looking pretty bad now, unfortunately, but it's not the worst right now. Our medicine supply is looking really bad though. As in, I have 1 left after this turn is over. Actually, we'll keep an extra 1. Okay. Did the AoE insta-kill, but it didn't kill anyone again. All good. Having to use the medicines that only heal for 50. Still not on the final phase, which is a problem. But I think we've mostly stabilized now. But we have no medicines left to stabilize with in the future if he cheeses me. So I'm probably going to die. Please no. I have dropped the stream already. Yeah, I've got 2 people left and one of them is confused. I think it's over. Hey. Yep. And we're dead. Great. Right. Let me try and drop and reboot the stream again. Can't OBS. Go away. Change key to 4. Right. Stop streaming. Okay. Is feed live?
Looks like we're getting some video.
Okay. Is it live now? Alright, good stuff. Right.
Yep, looks good.
That was a journey. Huh. So, estimate is long gone. Or not long gone, but... Oh, yep, sorry. Righty. So, no deja vu here. Let's try the final boss now that we're finally here. Because we haven't seen this ever, as yet. Right. All the sword dance things. Some sort. Okay, so it's using the worst attack on turn 1 again, or turn 2 I guess, because turn 1 it always does the same thing. It keeps using that AoE and it's pretty obnoxious. It's done that every time except last time. Pyrokinesis is fine. Maybe I should use the lower medicines in this fight. No, he has too much HP missing to do that. And he targeted Robins, which is the middle one. It's not too bad, but it's not good. Yeah, as you can see, it only hits one person if he targets Robins directly. Right, let's fix my formation. Oh, stop using AoEs. Okay, phase one down again. Right. So, how many ignitions do we have? We have 2 of our ignitions up. So, guess it's worth just healing Shiki. I'm gonna take this a little bit slower this time. We're gonna see if I can get the whoops, I need blade walls. I'm gonna see if I can get the P defense down to proc before I use my ignitions. The problem with this is that it's a risk because if people die with their ignitions, it goes away. But I think I need to take the risk here. I don't think I have much of a choice. I think I will just keep losing if I don't take a risk at the start. I'll say Nace, that's fine. Doesn't matter if he dies. So we'll do it now. So the ignition people are healthy enough for me to not worry. Heal yourself. You can also heal yourself. Okay. Ah, that's really bad. Actually, that's... At least it wasn't Shiki that died. Because Jasper Storm isn't going to do that much damage anyway. Compared to, what the Mitsukaio will. Right, I'm actually just gonna try and DPS race these guys down a little bit. That's one. Not good. A little bit rough. If that hits hard, no, that's the only person that needed to survive. Yeah, I don't even have the SP for it. I don't think there's any salvaging this. I guess I could just get really, really lucky and just... He could just keep hitting other people. But he has like almost no SP, so I'm gonna revive Shiki at least. And it's gone. All the while, this like loop of me reviving one person and then them dying is just getting people to lose max HP whilst they're dead. Because if they get attacked whilst they're dead, they lose more max HP. Okay, yeah, dead, very dead. Oh, I'm just gonna. Oh yeah, there it is. Question is, do I have all the gems? I do. I have one. Right. By the way, if at any point you want to mercy kill me from this point onwards, do so. I'll keep going until you tell me to stop. Because I'll win eventually, maybe. But as soon as you guys want to move along, feel free.
Sounds good, bud. Hang in there. Got this.
Yep. I'm not losing hope. I will keep going until I win.
Hope and healing.
Even once the marathon, or even if I get mercy killed, I'm gonna play this file until I win. I'm determined. At this point. So at the end of the day, at the very least, I made my estimate what it is. Oh wait, did I just learn Blade Waltz on another character? That's potentially good. I can do this formation actually. And dodge it. I won't dodge it with Robins, obviously, but... Right. Phase 1. Right. Ugh. So I've got Shiki's Ignition, Barbarossa's is coming up soon. Let's use this one. It's a little bit more defensive. Let's have him heal himself. Right, who learned Blade Dance? The other guy. Okay, that's fine. I'd rather it have been Shiki, but I'm okay with either. What skill was that? I've never seen that one before. Right, so healing Shiki is important here because he needs to get his thing off. Oh, it's a counter. Okay, that's why I've never heard of it before, because I just didn't pay attention. I probably have seen it. I just didn't care. Because counters are bad. Well, they're not bad, but they have very limited use. Right, and this time I'm actually going to take a slightly different approach as well. I'm not going to use the Jasper Spear with... He died before his thingy went off, didn't it? Oh, didn't he? That's really unfortunate. I need to keep his SP high now. So... I guess you can heal self, you heal Shiki. Yeah, rather than using Jasper Storm, I'm gonna use the Dance Macabre. And he's just gonna be a heal bot moving forward. Because it does do a lot more damage than That's what Storm does. He needs more SP, right? Yeah. Needs 2 turns worth. So who's healing who? So you're healing Shiki. You're healing yourself. And you are healing. That's a bad confuse. I could really do without that right now. He still needs another turn. That's not good. Okay, that's fine. She's Colossa isn't actually getting all the turns, he just has ads. The ads just happen to have just as good damage as Colossa himself. Heal Shiki. You heal yourself. You heal the body. Okay. Ugh. My HP doesn't look too bad right now. So you have no SP. And you have no weapon. That's not good. Shiki, please. No. Don't slay your fucking team. Ah. Might be able to salvage this? I'm not sure. Not anymore. Renzo surviving was my last bet, I think. Okay, that's good, at least. That stops him being confused. Right. It's good. Right, you have no weapon. You have no SP left. Huh. Oh, we only have normal medicines left. That's a bad sign. Nice twin spike. Right, I think it's time to just DPS race it, honestly. I think there's nothing else I can do here. More or less. Oh, that's really not good. Okay, it's over. There's no way I can win that now. Actually, technically I could just stun him over and over. Technically. I mean, I can try it, I guess. I mean, sure, let's go. And as long as the confusion people do not slay me, we'll be alright. Alright, that's a good start. And he's gone. That's also good. There's no way this is gonna work, right? There's no way. That whiffed. That's good. He's still hitting the boss. Well, this is phase 3. Nothing actually changes in phase 3, they just speak. There's no way, right? I mean, I may as well do this now. Just don't AoE me and we'll be fine. Just keep doing the gunshot, the cannon. Ah! Go, Pingu! You and your confused self. Win! Well, he tried. Yeah, there's nothing I can do unless I win right here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Ooh. I'm guessing... Oh yeah, of course, I'm out of order gems. That's my last one. Alrighty. Reopen the game. Alright, let me do this first, because I've been meaning to do this the entire time. Because he needs a... Actually, I guess I have to high roll anyway, right? So I can do this, and then I can just give you the Jasper Spear. Because you're not going to get to Ignition much anyway. Alrighty. You know, funnily enough, on the topic of that, every character except the Prinny has a self-destruct skill, because there's an unarmed move that does self-destruct, but because Robbins has his own unique set of unarmed moves, he doesn't have that. Alrighty. Alright, that's the Fizz Def down, which is good. I just wish that carried between... Oh, actually, yeah, it doesn't even stick, right? Where is it? How do you check that anymore? I don't remember. Keeps doing that. Every second turn. Actually, let's use you to heal. That's not good. I wanted to kill him before this went off. It's fine. Gee, let's try and save a bit of SP here. I'm like 100% sure he's almost dead, so... Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see how this goes. Now I've changed my ignition weapon setup a tiny bit. So I'm just gonna do this. You're just gonna do this straight away, so that I don't lose it, because I think I lost it last fight. You do this. So I get 3 Blade Waltz this time, because I saved some SP. No, he learned it! That's what I was talking about earlier. They can learn the ignitions. If you, if you equip it on a demon or beast folk. Now I have to use it again. Luckily, it doesn't destroy the weapon. It does take the SP though. Nice counter. That's good, actually. Because that was causing me a lot of grief before. That specific ad. I'm just gonna stay with this actually. This formation. Because that specific ad, its ignition attack is it buffs everyone with all buffs. So he is a lot weaker this time than he has been the previous times. Did I say a lot weaker? I meant a bit weaker. The buffs aren't that big a deal, but they're something, right? They're something. Too bad. Oh, he doesn't have the SP for it, that's fine. It's not that much more damage than thingy anyway. Okay, good. Okay. That's when you know the game is starting to turn its decisions around. He used Death Rain and didn't kill anybody. Okay. Never mind. It was just preparing for that, I guess. Okay, good. And bad. Game, please. Right, so you get you up, you do this, and you do this. Oh, don't do it! Oh my... We tried, guys. We tried. Great. I think it's let people be confused and pray time. We're very close to death though, and he's not in third phase yet, although he probably is now. Yeah. Yeah, Ignace needs to not get hit again. Else I lose. Ooh. It's okay, he just has to dodge. Just don't use any AoE. And with it. Oh wait, we didn't die. We lived on one. This time we died though. Ooh. Nothing usually goes different when it's not like this. Sometimes this boss just walls you.
I hear
for as
that.
long as it pleases.
Unfortunately, Fel, we're gonna have to mercy kill since we are running a little bit behind.
That's fine. That's pretty much what I expected if this was going to happen.
It's all...
As I say, it was entirely a coin flip on whether I was going to be able to finish this run, and I knew that from the start, so...
Guys,
Thank
please
you for having me regardless.
Yeah, please give him some... Please give him some credit for that hustle, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Fel.
Ooh. Thank you for having this awesome game. Even though it can do this to you.
Absolutely.
And,
any last shoutouts before we go ahead and close?
Not that I can think of right now. But
Great. All right, cool stuff. Yeah,
for having
GG. Yeah, awesome. That was awesome resilience by Fell, even though this boss is just, like you said, a coin flip. That was such an entertaining run, even though it was difficult. The thing that was super impressive is that he also explained the speed game so well, even in the darkness. So that was that was amazing. Please be sure to support him. Give him a follow if you enjoyed what you saw. He also mentioned that he did other categories too. I'm personally always a fan of fun categories. So stay tuned, guys. We are going to go offline for a second, and we'll be back with more Questing for Glory, Hope and Healing, as we have Shimigami Tensei Nocturne by Pink Pajamas coming up next.